One Mic Show, and then follow us on Instagram at One Mic Show. We are also taking live calls tonight at 202-683-4570 and press star 5 to speak, so I want you to save that number. Now later tonight, we'll talk about an ugly racial brawl that went down at the riverfront in Montgomery, Alabama over the docking of a boat. We'll discuss why black people instantly loved and cheered this moment despite the violence that was on display. Please start dropping a comment right now below to tell us who was your favorite character in that brawl that went viral. Na bila kusahau, tapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ Moshfire na kudunda kule viwanjani na Mika Och na jezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni akituletea habari za michezo. So moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Wengi wananiita mteule na kule kwetu mnite mjukuu wa Masai because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni tena.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now this hour we'll be talking to Kaiser Soze, aka the Afro Jamaican. Now Kaiser is a Jamaican who lives in Canada but dreams of calling Kenya home one day. We'll talk about his journey from Jamaica to Canada and why he chose Kenya over 53 other African countries. So please start dropping your questions and comments and views in the comment section below. And I'm your co-host and producer Ali Badawi. It's Friday the 11th of August and we are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside of Washington DC. Now please remember to subscribe to our One Mic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at One Mic Show. And on panel with me tonight is Mr. One Mic Kamakawa. Our sports anchor Mika Och will also be joining us. And our resident DJ Moshfire has already been live on the decks with some great music. And also not forgetting Mr. Super Producer Mubelwa Bandio. And we are going to get started right away today because we are running a bit behind. We're a bit late and we have so much to cover. Now, Kenya has in the recent years seen an uptick in tourism from outside the traditional white American and European demographic. Black tourists from the US, Canada, the Caribbean islands, and many other parts of the world with black populations have been trooping to Kenya in the thousands. Now, this upsurge in interest is said to be out of a desire to reconnect with the motherland. Now, this was initially triggered in Ghana back in 2019 in what was coined as the official year of return. It's however been curious how Kenya became a popular option for black returnees despite not being part of the Atlantic slave trade. To help us solve this puzzle is our guest tonight, Kaiser Soze, aka Afro Jamaican. Now, Kaiser is a Jamaican who lives in Canada but dreams of calling Kenya home one day. Now, Afro Jamaican does not only talk the talk, he has walked the walk and has already visited Kenya more than once and even bought land. Now, Afro Jamaican also has a petition on change.org requesting the East African community to grant the right of residency to descendants of enslaved Africans, and we're going to talk about that later. He's currently looking to invest, to connect, and eventually to make Kenya his permanent home. Afro Jamaican, karibu sana to the One Mic Show. Where I say, wagwan.
Good day, every day, Asante Sana. Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. We love having you here. This has been so much overdue. But before I get started, why Afro Jamaican? You know, why not the Caribbean Jamaican or maybe even a Canadian Jamaican? Why Afro Jamaican?
Or Jamaican.
So, Jamaica has a motto out of many one people. And so to say I'm just Jamaican, when I was growing up, it would mean you're black, but now I see a lot of other races who are Jamaican making a point of it. So I said, you know what? I am not going to, worry about them. I'm an African. I feel like I'm an African. So I'm Afro-Jamaican.
Okay.
So
yeah. No Canadian Jamaican, no other, just Afro-Jamaican is good enough.
Yeah, just Afro-Jamaican.
Okay. And at what point, this is we've been talking for a while, but we've never had this conversation. At what point did you discover the One Mic Show, or how did you discover us?
Well, after I came back from Kenya the first time, I was searching the internet for everything Kenyan. And that's how I came across you guys.
Okay, so you just randomly searched us. We were not recommended. It was just plain old Google search.
It was YouTube search for Kenyan.
Okay.
I said Kenyan YouTubers, and you were on the list.
Oh, wow. That's now it's great to know that that YouTube algorithm now is respecting us, because it kept disrespecting us, like when we were new. But we are so glad that you found us, and you always bring an interesting twist to Kenyan conversations. But now back to you. I want you to get us started by briefly telling us about your early life in Jamaica, maybe where you were born, and and up to the point when you moved to Canada. What got you to move to Canada? Afro Jamaican.
Okay. So I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, a place called Waterhouse. Mom and dad still live in Jamaica, actually. And my dad was very, how would I say, very pro-African. So growing up in the house, he would talk about apartheid. He'd talk about, what's going on in Cuba. He was very, very much into what on the pulse of Black people. So, and that's how I got my name. Apparently, he must have met the Prime Minister of Tanzania. Okay. So my name is Julius Nyerere.
Yeah. So let's pause right there. Sorry to interrupt. Let's pause right there. So your actual government name is Julius Nyerere.
Julius Nyerere, and I have a surname, but yes, Julius Nyerere is my actual government name.
So that's like so it's both names, the way like you can say Mark Anthony. So Julius Nyerere, that's your first name.
My first name it's Julius Nyerere Brown, my last name. Right?
Okay.
My wife gonna kill me. She tell me not to say my last name.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay. Don't worry about
why?
that.
But why? You good, bro.
But Julius Nyerere is good enough. And it's interesting because like I've met another Jamaican who was called who had Kenyatta's name, Jomo, from the original founding father of Kenya. That's Kenyatta, and that's a name that I've also found amongst African American, which already shows how much consciousness there was from way back in that generation, which becomes very interesting. So back to your story in Jamaica, where you were born and how you got to come to Canada.
So I have a talent, and my talent is I used to sing. So I was a member of a couple performing arts groups in Jamaica, Little People Teen Players Club and the Jamaican Musical Theatre Company. And I remember one of the directors saying to me, "You should try and become a singer." So that was part of my dream, to come to Canada to be a singer. So I applied to a couple of schools, and I got into the Royal Conservatory of Music to be a vocal major. So I was going to be an opera singer.
Wow. Okay.
So you would have known what a G clef is.
Can we get a sample?
No, don't ask for a sample. I have not performed in years. I don't really perform anymore.
But it's like riding a bike.
Once you start, the Pavarotti in you comes out.
Well, yes.
Okay.
But so I got a scholarship to go to the Royal Conservatory of Music, and that's how I came to Canada, with a lot of help from Jamaica, because Waterhouse is it's in the ghetto. We call it ghetto, and so it's a poor neighborhood. So a lot of my family and my friends and people from my performing arts group, everybody put together, got some tuition fee, and came to Canada.
Okay, all right. That's quite interesting. So was this like after high school? At what point in your life were you in when you're coming to Canada?
This was about 20 years old.
Okay, all right. Okay, wow. So that's quite interesting. That's a fact about you that we had no idea about.
Yeah, I'm even flabbergasted. So the Royal Conservatory is that like considered
Juilliard?
Yeah, is it equivalent of Juilliard?
I think the University of Toronto Opera School might be that equivalent, but the Royal Conservatory is right there. Like all the exams that music exams that they're doing in Canada, for most of them are written from the Royal Conservatory of Music. So it's right up there. Yes.
Wow.
Okay. All right. So that's quite interesting. Now before you traveled to Kenya, maybe talk to us about your dream for Kenya. Now, that, of course, that's before traveling. When was the first time that Kenya came to your mind as a place that you possibly want to live, Afro Jamaican?
So I'm going to be honest. Kenya was random.
What
Kenya was random.
What do you mean by random?
You may want to speak in English.
Okay, so certain things were happening in the society here in Canada, and then there was George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and I just started to feel disconnected. I was like, because when I came to Canada, I was Captain Canada. Absolutely. All Canada, all the time. And then after things started going south in the States and things started happening here, people got a little bit more emboldened with their racism. And something happened to me personally. And that's when I said, I need to get out of here. I said to my wife, if I stay here, I'm going to lose my mind. I did not want to go to Jamaica. I was like, no, I need to go to Africa. I feel I need to go home.
So you at the point where you're going to use a machete?
No, nothing like that. I'm not a violent person at all. It's just I needed to leave Canada. I needed to get out of here. And I know my spirit wasn't calling me to Jamaica. And everything I had seen online was gearing me to go to Ghana. And I don't know what it was. I looked at Ghana and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to fit in there. It's not me. So I started looking at the other side of the map. And I said, you know what? I always hear about Kenya. I'm going to go to Kenya.
Wow.
And I bought a ticket, not knowing anybody in Kenya, got on a plane and went to Kenya.
Okay. Now, like when you were going to Kenya, I mean, and this is interesting that you did a random selection because everybody else was going to Ghana. Like what is it that made you actually, you said, of course, going to Kenya was random, but going to Kenya was random, but what made you not go to Ghana like everybody else was doing?
I think that's it. Everybody else was doing it.
Okay.
And I pride myself on not being like everybody else.
Okay. So
and I didn't get. I know I had to be in Africa, and I was going to Ghana because of all the publicity. But really, my spirit didn't call me there. And I ran, and it's not like I was choosing a country from East Africa. I literally went and said, I'm going to Kenya.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I want to welcome all our other listeners here. Brenda BK, Karibu Sana. Steve Kamami Kariu, Karibu Sana. Slay Odwar, Karibu Sana. Ashley Maingi, welcome to the One Mic Show. Ashek Ndirangu. Tucha, I don't know whether you're already here, but you should be somewhere on your way if you're not already here. So welcome all of you to the One Mic Show. Eda Eva, Angie Decadence. Some comments here coming real quick, and I think this was in response to, like one of the questions that I asked before. This was regarding that viral video, the Riverfront Brawl in Alabama. And Sambaza Podcast says the viral character on the Montgomery Brawl was the dude that jumped into the water and swam to the dock to help a brother out. He was actually featured on Black Kids Swim Facebook group for black swimmers, and the coach says he could have the boy anytime on his relay team. Now this was actually so amazing, and I'm sorry to like bring this in the middle of this conversation. It was a point when like black people instinctively reacted to protect each other. It was not scripted. It was not planned. This is just something that happened randomly. These people did not even know each other. This was an employee who was working at the dock, and these were people who were in a boat, and someone, like just decided, I see a black brother being attacked for a fault that's not his own. I'm going to jump into this water and I'm going to go to swim and save him. But
you know what the signal was?
The hat.
Thank you.
Yeah. The hat was.
That was it.
That's gonna be an international signal. So
I guess that's the kaende.
Yeah, and then
Avengers!
Sambaza Podcast says the security guard who threw his hat. And then he closed. Slay says he closed his eyes and pointed at the map and chose Kenya. I think this was now to Kaiser. Like that randomness. That randomness, I think, has shocked to everyone, and the fact that you just went, did not know anyone, and just pointed and figured out things for yourself. Now you did not have like any fear in you or owing to the fact that you're going to some place that nobody.
The feeling I was having didn't leave space of fear. I had to go. I had to go to Africa. Decided I was going to Kenya, and it was in my mind. So there was absolutely no fear.
Okay, all right. That was that's quite interesting. Now, what about of course there was Kenya, which you said was random. What about the 50? Let me not even say 53. The 52 other countries, because of course Ghana was out, everybody was going there. Then there's Kenya. Then there's 52 other countries. Was there any other country that you had randomly considered while you were thinking Kenya, or your spirit just told you Kenya and Kenya it is?
Kenya. Yeah, it's Kenya, and it was the right decision.
Okay.
Absolutely the right decision.
The ancestors were calling.
The ancestors were calling.
Simple.
Okay.
You know, if
And
I
no
say
matter how
that,
you
my
look at
mother
it-
might freak out, you know, hardcore Christian. So, but you know,
They whispered.
we could say that. We could say the ancestors were calling. Absolutely.
Okay. And what was it about, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and what was happening at that time that pushed you to say that you need to get out of Canada?
So, the one that affected me the most was Breonna Taylor, because she did everything society said we should do to be successful and be safe. The school, the good job, everything. And that's the kind of person I am. I am doing everything society has said, do this and you will be successful. And by any measure of anyone, I am fairly successful. But something happened, and it's like I was reminded I was Black. For a moment you forget, and someone will remind you one day. And so when
Yes.
that happened, I kind of, Canada, the whole image of Canada just shattered for me. And, some people were telling me, oh, we were trying to tell you long time ago, this is the way Canada is. But no, I was Captain Canada. I bought the Kool-Aid. Hell, I was selling the Canadian Kool-Aid.
Huh.
And
Yes, and Canada has, it doesn't have a racist image. It doesn't have that image that America has.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's like everything is hunky-dory there. Everybody is happily living happily ever after.
I mean, like,
all
if-
races.
Think about it. Like when you look at, let's say, for example, like the guy who's, I guess, the head of military or something. The Sikh, is he Sikh or Indian? The Indian.
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
he was the Minister of Defense. He's no
Minister of
longer
Defense.
Minister
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting into power, not
Yeah.
necessarily just being white, but people, it's very accommodating.
and
That's what
living
we
happily
see.
ever after. All the different races in perfect harmony.
That's well, I don't know about that. Maybe Kaiser can demystify or
Well,
mystify how it is over there.
It's a lot of it is unconscious bias. They don't realize they're doing it. And from my experience, it's unconscious. They don't realize they're doing it. I think Black women here go through it a lot worse than Black men. I
Wow.
think they're scrutinized every day at work, to be quite honest. But for me, it's a lot of the unconscious bias. And then sometimes people would just say things blatantly, and I'd have to stop and look. And I was like, wow. Even yesterday, one of my teachers from Jamaica had a Facebook Live, and he had an issue in his parking lot. And he was like, and I said, is this Canada? And he goes, yes. So it seemed to have gotten worse over the years. I'll be honest. I think from you had that president there, I think it got a lot worse.
You're talking about
45.
45.
Orange.
Yes.
President
yes,
Trump.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say the name.
Okay.
That's why
All right. And Slay here is saying, even though this incident happened in the US, this affected people of color in Canada too. Like she's
asking.
She's asking, like she's
Yes.
okay.
I think it impacted people all over the world. I saw people protesting in Jamaica. This thing was
Even
it's
Kenya
a
too,
huge
actually.
thing.
Yeah.
People went to the
was-
Yeah, I know.
embassy and to kneel down.
It was like the Black Renaissance.
George Floyd.
Yeah.
I think that was the trigger for everything.
Yeah.
With whatever happened to George Floyd. I'd be curious. I'm not trying to rush Ali, but I'd be curious because when we hear that Kaiser, of course, for me Kaiser Soze is from the movie. There's a movie.
I forget.
It is
Because
He can
that's
tell
the
us.
usual suspects.
The
He can tell us.
usual
Yeah.
suspects,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, Kaiser Soze. But I'll just be curious. Like, so you've decided to go to Kenya, bought a ticket, and landed. Like, so what was the plan? Like, you booked yourself a hotel room, you just went, and you just perambulated.
I booked Airbnb,
Uh-huh.
and I was just gonna go and relax and do nothing. And that was the plan.
Okay.
And going through the airport, the immigration officer was extremely friendly. He had a Canadian passport, and we were talking, and then he goes, "I hear an accent." I go, "Yeah, I'm Jamaican." "Oh man, welcome, man, welcome." It was like it was being welcomed for being Jamaican, and it's a wonderful feeling. And I tell Jamaicans that I go, I understand some of the experiences in the West. I go to Africa, you'd be treated very differently. From what I've seen,
Correct.
Africans love Jamaicans.
Absolutely. Kenyans especially.
They love,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
love,
yes.
they actually do love other black folks, but yeah.
So I'll tell you something in the airport. So I'm coming out. I've gone through immigration, customs. The custom lady and I had a very good conversation. She saw my name and she said, "You should have gone to Tanzania. They would have given you a parade over there." You know, Julius Nyeri flying into the Julius Nyeri airport. It would have been amazing. And when I was leaving the airport, and again, and I remember everything that happened to me in Canada, so I'm still kind of dealing with that in my head. And she called out my last name and she goes, "Welcome home."
Oh, wow.
This lady knows I am not Kenyan. I'm getting emotional now thinking about it.
Wow.
The slaves, the people that were trafficked and kidnapped and taken to the Caribbean and to the West came from West Africa. So that's where home should be. So I wasn't expecting that kind of welcome. And when she said that to me, a feeling came from the ground right up into my body, and it was right there. It was sealed. Kenya was it from the first day.
Wow, and I think that answers Ashley Maingi's questions, because she says, "I'm curious, what was the feeling when you went to Kenya and having that weight finally off your shoulders?"
And it is a weight, and I don't think a lot of people realize they're carrying it until you go to Africa. My cousin gets that when he goes to Jamaica, but he was born in Canada. But for someone who's born in Jamaica, when I go to Africa, and I've heard this from other people, they explain to me, I've had the same experience. It's like a weight is just lifted off of you. So it is an amazing feeling.
Wow.
But I must say, Kaiser, which name should we use? Julius.
Julius.
Okay, Julius. So when
Afro
I went,
Jamaican.
every time I've gone to Jamaica, it's the same. You know, that welcome you're talking about. They welcome you like you're their long lost brother, long lost black brother, like, you know, you're their brother from another mother. It's the same way. The staff at the resorts, even on the streets, if you stop with the vendors who have jerk chicken, you know, they have the jerk chicken pits on the side of the road. All those people, they treat you like you're one of them, because they know that you're not from there. However, they will treat you like you're their long lost cousin. So I get it.
Jamaicans are very friendly. Jamaicans
I
are
get that.
some of the friendliest people on the planet. And when we like you, we like you. It's just that if we don't like you, we're not going to pretend.
Correct. Yes.
Mika.
I want to add on what Moshe said. I just came from Jamaica, and I remember every time I would do something, like I would go somewhere and then I speak, they would be like, "You have an accent. You're from Africa. You're my brother." Like they will give you special preference. Like, "Hey, you're African. You did." And then this is the funniest thing. Guess which music they're listening to in Jamaica?
Afrobeat.
The Afrobeat is the most played music that I had. Like everywhere I was going, like, and you're like, "Do you guys listen to this, or you just playing because it says?" They're like, "No, we listen to Afrobeat." Clubs, taxis, they love Afrobeat. So for them, you see the way in Kenya reggae is revered, and you see the way you cannot talk bad about reggae. Reggae,
correct. No, you can't.
I know.
You'll be.
It's the same way. You cannot talk. You cannot say anything about Afrobeat in Jamaica.
You know, and here's
they will whoop your ass.
Mika, here's an interesting thing. During post-election violence 2007. There was violence that went down in Kibra. There was an area where everything was ransacked. The only thing that remained was a place where people used to go listen to reggae music. Like everything around it, you know, like all the businesses around it, you know, looted and everything. It was there standing by itself. And that in itself is testament to how people feel about each other, despite the separation that's 400 years. That feeling, that blood, and even music, you know, like instinctively, you know, like black people love other black people's music. Correct. Without being told that this is black people music and you're supposed to like it.
But if you also know, like when you look at many reggae artists, always are welcome. They always have a home in Kenya.
Yes.
No matter Black
and
Uhuru,
they
Israel
connect.
Vibration, they just connect.
Morgan Heritage, and Elaine.
Elaine.
And Ali can sing you songs about Elaine.
Oh my goodness.
She's at another level, and Morgan Heritage as well.
Did you hear how the intonation changed?
No,
when you
but
mentioned
it's her. It's the way
I know.
she performs.
Yes.
And you become part of the show.
Yes.
The audience she removes her shoes. She walks in, with the
They
crowd.
interact with people.
and
Yes.
dance
It's like-
with you, and
So that's another aspect of Jamaicans, like even the artists themselves, the major artists.
Is-
Most of
they're,
them.
they're not just there for the money.
No. Even just the idea. Who was it? Was it Capleton or no? Sizzler.
Sizzler. Was it
But
Sizzler?
yeah, the one point he was talking about Mandamano, like he was even holding a rock, like
Yes.
Like, you remember that? Like, that is how in tune, some and I'm talking about the level of celebrity status for someone like Sizzler, and him connecting with Kenya.
Yeah.
So that adds to what Afro is saying.
And this actually goes back to like when Bob Marley first came to perform in Zimbabwe during the independence celebration in 1980, where like there was issues, like he was being told there might be issues with equipment and sound, and he was like, we are going, like whatever the issues are, we are gonna solve them, like when we get there. So there's a level of spiritual connection that that I think is just very difficult to explain. Kaiser.
No, it's true. One thing that surprised me also, when I was in Mombasa, the amount of Jamaican flags and Bob Marley that I see on the matatus, and then when he came to Nairobi, it's the same thing. So I think if left alone by outside forces, I think we would come together.
Wow,
Yeah.
and that's very true. We'd come together. And on that note, I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the One Mic Show. I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. Our guest tonight is Kaiser Soze, aka Julius Nyerere, aka the Afro Jamaican. Now, Afro Jamaican is a Jamaican who lives in Canada but dreams of calling Kenya home. He has filed a petition requesting the East African community to grant rights of residence to descendants of enslaved Africans, and we're going to be talking about that shortly. Now, this petition is actually pinned on the Facebook comment section on the live stream, so you want to check that out to see if you want to sign it. And Afro Jamaican will also be telling us what he thinks about the millions of Africans who desperately want to leave the continent. But now, before we get to that point and before we continue, Mike, we're going to go back to that brawl that happened in Alabama that we'll be talking about in the social segment. Maybe briefly tell the audience maybe what the discussion will be about. Mike.
Mika, uko sawa? Ideally,
I'm just singing the song Montgomery Broad, man. You know that song made me, man. I was so happy when I saw that video.
wow. I think Mika must have had a bad day at work that day. Actually, it was Saturday. It was Saturday, Sunday.
Actually, you know where I was when I saw it?
Yeah, you were in
Jamaica.
Yeah, in Jamaica, yeah.
Yeah, staring at the sea. Yani unafungua dirisha hivi naona ocean alafu nikatumia hiyo video. Man, I was so happy.
Okay. So Mika, pause. You'll tell us why you are so happy, because there was a lot of violence in that video.
I think
so. You're gonna tell us what about that violence made you happy.
violence.
Yeah.
Mika probably has shares at Office Depot.
So I think ideally we're going to, because what has happened was a lot of angles have popped up. Like, was it right? People saying, no, hold on, was it right? Some people saying, we are not our ancestors. So we'll look into that if that is a valid statement, or is it pent up? Like pent up rage, frustration.
Yeah.
Getting away with ish and not being done. So sometimes, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But we look at all those angles.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
I
also
think
I'm curious what white media is saying about this. I'm just curious. When I say white media, I'm talking about just mainstream.
You're talking
Mainstream
about
media.
mainstream.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to look at some aspects of some people, some whites are like, yo, don't play with people like that. And some are like, they are crying, but we shall see.
That's gonna be in the social
You
segment.
guys don't
so
think that it was all human and there was no color in it?
social segment.
Yeah.
We're going to
Social
talk about
segment.
that. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Now, want to welcome Jackie Wanjiru. Jackie Wanjiru says, hey, Karibu sana Jackie
Habari ya
Wanjiru.
New York, Jackie.
Yeah.
Welcome, finally.
Yeah, tell
What's
us what's good in New York. Now I want to come back to you, Kaiser. Now you filed a petition and a coalition that you've been building that's requesting the East African community to grant rights of residency to descendants of enslaved Africans. So that's quite strong. I want you to tell us briefly what this coalition is about and why you specifically chose East Africa, Afro Jamaican.
So I'll tell you why first, because I'm going to live in Kenya and I'm experiencing some challenges, and I said to myself, there's got to be an easier way for us to come home than
Okay.
going through all the hoops that one has to go through. And so a group of friends and I were sitting down, and there was one in particular. He's going to Uganda. He wants to go to Uganda, and so we said, what if they just invite us home? And I said, well, they did invite us home, but President Museveni said, come home, you're welcome. But there hasn't been anything procedural as yet. President Ruto even is saying, oh, you're going to be able to visit without a visa and work and open borders, but there's still nothing yet. So we decided, let us ask them, let us petition on behalf of all the descendants of enslaved and trafficked Africans, to give us right of abode, the same thing that Ghana has. And let's see what happens. So we started the petition for that reason, to be able to come home, live, operate businesses. We're not asking for immediate citizenship. We're not asking for rights to vote or any of that. We just want somewhere we can call home, and over time we'll apply for our citizenship if you want to. But somewhere without jumping through the hoops. Because I'll tell you what, it was easier for me to apply for my student visa to come to Canada than applying for my Kenyan work permit.
Wow. Okay. I think just pause right there. It was easier for you to get a student visa to Canada than to get a work permit to Kenya. So maybe most Kenyans who are Kenyans don't understand this. They don't know about this. So talk from, like a practical perspective, like you said you experienced some challenges, just give us, like at the point when you decided, I came to visit, but I want to see if I can get a work permit or a residency permit. What kind of challenges from those procedures that we know are available for people who want to become Kenyan residents? Where was the challenge for you?
So the challenge for me is to be able to get a work permit under the investor class. You have to show that you have $100,000 in a Kenyan bank account. Fair enough, not a problem.
Okay.
You have 100,000? Oh, sorry.
Hey, listen.
He said he's doing very well.
Come out of my business.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, man. Sorry, brethren.
But to get a Kenyan bank to open an account for you, you have to have a work permit and a KRN PIN, which is your tax registration.
KRA
you guys
PIN,
know what a
yes.
KRA PIN is.
Yes, correct.
Okay, fine. So to get a KRA PIN, listen to this. To get a KRA personal PIN as an investor, I need to prove that I have $100,000 US in a Kenyan bank.
Wow. Okay. In US dollars, not in Kenya shillings.
In US dollars. But the point is, I can't make a move because each thing depends on the other.
Okay.
And so I can't get the PIN without, sorry about the light there. I can't get the PIN without having the money in a Kenyan bank, and I can't open a Kenyan bank account without the PIN.
So, so what if you you are part of a company, a director of a company, which is quote unquote an investor group or whatever you want to call it.
But then you see that
Yes.
that defeats the purpose, right? Because as it says, he wants to come as an individual.
I get what.
I get what you're saying. What you're
Okay.
saying is usually get in touch with somebody from Kenya, open that person in Kenya is part of the investment group, and then you use
Yes.
that person to
Yes.
open. Yeah. That is what usually most people do. But then now what he's saying is making it easier for individuals who want to come and invest. Because there's so many people who are individuals who want to come and invest like him, and they don't want to do it through a group effort or to do it through somebody else. They want to do it because they have their own vision and their own dream.
Correct.
And so that's why he's saying it and it makes sense because how okay even in America when they tell you you have 50,000 and you open a business, if you have 50,000 and you open a business, you get green cards for you and your family, and you can come in and invest, right? So it's easy. It's quite an easy process. I have $50,000 in the bank. Apply for the visa. What kind of business you're going to invest? Run your business for a certain number of months. Get green cards. Bring your family. So the Chinese use it. So most of the Asians use. Now in Kenya, make it simpler like that. Don't make it like okay, you need the money. When you have the money, you're supposed to open a bank account, but then you don't have ways to open a bank account.
Correct. Yeah, I guess yeah, I hear what you're saying. And it's funny you bring that up because even for Kenyans, when you're trying to apply for certain things, there are prereqs that you need to have in place in order for you to get some of these things done. A prime example is say getting your passport. So before you used your birth certificate, you got your passport, you came to the US, but they changed the rules of the game because the document now needed biometrics and so on and so forth. Now, God forbid you came in here before you were 18, it means you don't have a Kenyan ID, so you would have to get a Kenyan ID to renew your passport, which is a Kenyan passport that's now invalid. And so it's like you have to go, take the 3 steps back. You do have a Kenyan passport, but it means diddly squat because you can't be renewed because the new rules say you need biometrics and you need to have a Kenyan ID and you need to have original birth certificate, which you may or may not have, with you at that point. But you do have a valid document or a document that at one point was valid. So there are some of those things, and you're right. It's almost like the people who put these things together, put them together, and then they close the cabinet and said, okay, that's it. They're not going back and taking a look. And Ali would probably give you the same story about him and his ID woes.
Oh yeah.
As well as even say refugees.
As a Kenyan who has a Muslim name, like there's issues that we experience, like cause and despite the fact that Kenya is 30%, it's almost 30% Muslim, but there's always suspicion, like that we're looked upon whenever we go. And this did not start. People sometimes think it started like after 9/11 or because of the 98 bombing. No, like talk to my uncles
from the shifter time.
From the shifter time, yes.
Talk to your uncles, talk to your
60s
grandparents.
into 70s.
Like we need to stop that thing of asking people to get their grandfather's birth certificates to prove that they're Kenyan.
Or ID card.
Yeah,
you know that's the same thing with us guys who come from the border.
The border guys.
Guys who come from the border districts, we have the same issue. I cannot just go and get an ID. I have to go get my father's, my mother's, then I have to go to Shago and get and then
affidavit
from
the chief.
That has to be signed by the Kijiji, the sub chief, the chief. And they have to
and sometimes your religious leader, the church as well.
They have to show that they know your family, your family lineage. Yes, this one is part of us. He's not coming from Uganda. So it's a very archaic and it's a very backward system which needs to be changed, because I don't understand why even up now in 2023, because that is one of the things my kid is doing right now, is getting her ID and her Kenya documents before she comes to college. And dude, I had to look for my dad's and my mom's birth certificate and old ID, and then she has to go to Ishaq. Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
all right. So this is I think ID. I think this is a topic that we're gonna find, like an episode to have a conversation about. Couple of comments here coming also from YouTube. Leslie B says, you're so interesting. There's another artist also on YouTube. Welcome. Says this guy is awesome. And then he says for him it was a leap of faith that worked. Props to him. And then I see, I'm for real says, you go, my friend. Another artist says Jamaicans are special for sure. And he says again, that's a good welcoming. Then Leslie B says, our music brings us together. Conscious reggae is a vibe. Then we also have Kenyans living abroad saying, hi everyone, tapping in late, I believe. our is making significant impact on the Kenyan law
The petition.
progressively. The petition, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, the petition is making a bid on. Okay, so thank you so much, Kenyans living abroad, and also to everybody who's tuned in on also on Facebook. Now, Slay here says, I can help find more information on how to navigate this, and no bribes, just getting more information on how to go about this. And I think this is something that that really needs to be looked at very closely. But outside that, Kaiser, why East African? And I mean, of course, you've explained this because you went to Kenya. But why didn't you just have this petition open up to the African
Yeah,
Union?
to the rest. Yeah.
I thought about that, but from my research, I think the East African community is probably the most organized of all the, I mean, apart from SADC and ECOWAS, I think the East African community is the most organized. And I see how they operate with each other. When I was in Kenya, if you have a East African ID, certain things were cheaper, and I loved that, even though I was paying more. But you were from one of the other countries,
Yeah.
so I realized that the partnership seems to work, because I saw what Woody Maya went through crossing from one ECOWAS country into another,
Yeah.
and I was like, no. So for me, it just seemed like the community is functioning, and the African Union, God bless them, but I don't have much faith there, to be very honest with you.
Okay. Oh wow.
So it's almost like you're saying the East African community seem to have their
They have it together.
They seem to have their ish together, at least when it comes to how they're enjoining with each other, moving from place to place, and people going back and forth. And I think Mika can probably even give us those types of examples, because Border Town growing, those guys went back and forth. The kids would run back and forth.
The thing about the East African, the protocol, because eventually, and this unfortunately even most East Africans don't know, like the East African community, of course, was founded after independence, and then it fell apart in 1977.
Correct.
And then it
broke
got
up, yeah.
back together again in 1999. Now, when they got back together in 1999, there were certain agreements they had. So originally it was Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
Yes.
And then Rwanda and Burundi were added, and then South Sudan.
Sudan, yes.
And then now we also have the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Yes.
So we have access all the way to the
Congo,
Atlantic
yes.
Ocean. Because
pretty much, yes.
we have access all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. So what's supposed to happen is that we're supposed to be getting like open borders, like the Schengen or the Schengen visa, but it's just gonna be open borders. Like there will be no border posts. It's gonna be like one big country. There will be freedom of movement back and forth.
Yes.
Still has not been implemented. There's gonna be very controversial. But it's part of the pact, free movement of labor, meaning you can wake up tomorrow and start working in Tanzania
Uganda.
or in Uganda. Kenya and Rwanda already have an arrangement. If you're a Kenyan, you go to Rwanda, there's nothing that you need. You can start working the following day if you find a job. So there's some countries that are already, like operating at that level between each other, but eventually it's supposed to be across the community.
Now, Ali, that you brought up Rwanda. Rwanda has pretty much opened their, what should I say? They've opened their doors for returnees.
Kind of like Ghana.
Yes. Julius, what's the right word for that? It's not. Is it?
It's not right of abode in
What do they?
in Rwanda, but it's a lot easier.
They have a name. Yes, they have a name for it. It's pretty much like you say. They're letting all black.
You can go
folks,
home. Yes.
Yes. They're like, come back home. They have an actual ministry. They have a representative, and the guy even used to live in the diaspora. He meets the guys. He meets the different groups. Depending upon his schedule, obviously. And a lot of folks who have gone to Rwanda and started businesses, say, you moved from New York, you sold your house, and you went back to Rwanda, they bought a house there, started a business, and, guys have a restaurant, and they're flourishing. They're happy, and even some folks who went to Ghana are now switching from Ghana to go to Rwanda because they've made it easier to operate. So, are you saying that system that they have is not what you guys are looking for, or you're looking for something similar but has more roots? I'm not sure.
We're looking for that, but that wouldn't help me because I don't want to go to Rwanda.
No. But what I'm saying is that the same type of
Yes,
setup.
the same thing.
Okay.
The same thing. And
Okay,
don't
good
get me
to know.
wrong, Kenya is heading in the right direction. I have two companies registered in Kenya. It took me a day, maybe no, two and a half days to get the company registered.
Mhm.
It's so those things are working. I just can't work for my own company. That's the only thing. So you know, yeah. I have
So
two
then, can you
companies.
pay yourself?
I can't.
Yeah.
So one company is not operational, which is the one I want to. That's my passion project. The one I
Understood.
want to do, which I won't go into much details here.
Okay.
The
no
other
problem.
one is renting bodas. So I have a Kenyan partner. I have two Kenyan partners, but the one for the boda company, we will buy the bodas. The riders, I just need 30% back. The riders get to keep the bike, and the money goes in
Wow.
a Kenyan bank account.
Okay.
So
So,
that's
but
fine.
at
because
what point do you cut them off? Sorry to cut you off, but at what point do you cut them off, or do you say, okay, you're done, or is there like some sort of agreement, or?
So the cost of the bike plus 30%, then there is an agreement, and
okay.
and
Okay,
Okay.
that's
it.
not bad.
The bike is theirs.
Okay.
Right. So that's what we're doing, and that doesn't bother me because I mean that money can stay there till when I get to
Correct,
Kenya. I'm
correct.
not really concerned about that. But the one that I want to work in, the one that's my passion,
Mhm,
is
mhm.
the one that's giving me a challenge because I physically need to be there to operate.
Okay, all right.
Huh.
So you're already at that point where you've registered businesses. Is there maybe like maybe any assets that you may have purchased? Maybe if you don't mind telling
Yes.
us that.
And in what area? And should you give me some? You can give me some numbers, and I'll.
So there's a place about 45 minutes outside of Malindi called Boalala.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh, wow.
bought 8 I would say 6 pieces of land there, 6 plots.
Wow.
And
Mafurot.
I've helped
Maguta,
I've
maguta.
helped at least 8 people to buy plots in Kenya. So I
So
have
by 8
that
people,
have
you mean
invested.
foreigners or?
Foreigners,
Ah,
Jamaicans actually.
Excellent.
Okay. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
So I have that. So that's close. That's on the coast, and then I have another 2 plots, shortly 3, in Naivasha.
Wow. Okay.
So are you buying them? I've noticed the way the sizes of plots are like either 100 by 100,
Yeah, 100 by 100, 100 by 100. But I buy them
okay.
all together. So
And yeah, so
the
you have them
6
back to back to back to back. Got you.
Exactly.
Got you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So over here, Slay, I think this is pertaining to his issue of getting a PIN, a bank account, something like that. And maybe Slay can, but she says here, I can help find more info on how to navigate this. And no bribes, just getting more info on how to go about this. Specifically, maybe you can chime in over there, Slay, what it is, but she's offering to assist.
Okay.
So we should give her, that's her action item to take out
That
of this
is her
meeting.
action item.
Slay, please make sure you have that.
Okay.
AI.
Kanyo,
I will
kanyo,
take
Slay,
it.
kanyo, kanyo, kanyo,
Yeah.
kanyo.
We'll give a deliverable by the end of
Yeah,
the show.
and I see another artist here is happy that we're reading a comment. Yes, we try to read all the comments of people who've taken time to tune in to us. So
Correct.
thank you so much.
We try,
Another
yes.
artist is very proud of you. Nia Generational says, apologies, I'm late. No, it's never late. This is Kenya. So better better late than never. So welcome, Nia Generational. And then Leslie B says, Rwanda Development Board has risen on the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index. So this is something that
Yes.
maybe we need to learn from, because I've had
It's
a lot
a
of
learning
positive things
opportunity
about
for
them.
us.
Those
Yeah.
guys. Have
Yeah.
you ever watched any of those people who returned and have settled, especially like someone who's come from like New York?
Yeah.
The hustle and bustle, and has gone with the family, opened a restaurant, doesn't know diddly squat about this place, and you would think they are the Rwandans.
Yeah, so I think this is something that that Kenya needs to improve on, because this is a whole there's a whole market of people,
Yes.
black people,
It's an
who actually
ecosystem.
specifically want to come to Kenya.
Correct.
Because you listen to like Kaiser here, he's saying he's specifically interested in Kenya. So that means there's so many other people out there, but they're looking for a way in which they can conveniently and easily get
Ease
in
of
without
doing
much
business,
hassle. Nia Generational says, I briefly heard you mention in the beginning the riverboat fight in Alabama. That co-captain that couldn't dock the riverboat, that could have been a Kenyan American doing his job. Doesn't matter. That's very true. And this is something that I constantly keep telling people, because sometimes certain parents think because they're in a good school district, and
Why are you changing your accent?
because like that's how parents in those good districts talk.
Them boys.
Like they think that everything is okay. Like it's those other guys who are gonna get in trouble.
Ali, you're hilarious.
Yes, like this could happen.
That doesn't sound like a Nairobi West accent.
This could happen.
I don't care what you tell
That's
me.
how we spoke in Nairobi West. Kwani, you guys, you never spoke like that?
Us guys, we didn't do that.
Okay. All right. So all right. Yeah. But
This is
basically,
interesting with Kaiser, man.
yes. But basically, like that's just like you have to be aware that anything can happen as long as your child has any shade of black on them. It doesn't matter if it's a light shade, a dark shade, like
You is
a
black.
chocolate shade. Anything can happen to him.
You remember the is it the 3/5 rule?
Yes.
As long as you have something,
Yes.
you're considered
You're considered
The
black.
other.
Yeah.
as any.
Yeah.
You're considered black.
Yeah.
Carry on.
All right. So that's what Near Generational Leah was saying. It could be a Kenyan. It could be anyone. Now, the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, just still on this petition, like there's the aspect of how we expect it to practically work. Like technically, what is it that you want to see? Like let's say not even yourself who's emotionally connected. Let's get someone who's fast getting that spiritual connection to Kenya, and they decide, I want to go to Kenya. What is it that you want it to be easy for this person that you are not able to have access to? Afro Jamaican.
If the person falls in love with Kenya and is willing to invest, they should just be able to buy their ticket, make the government aware this is what their intentions are. They get a stamp at the airport, and they can go buy their land. They can start operating their business, because guess who's going to be working for them?
Kenyans.
It's Kenyans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when you say it that way, you don't think that it's worth to have, say, some sort of I guess department? Because like you say, so if they say, okay, go ahead and you can buy land, blah blah blah, don't you think that there should also be some sort of vetting agency, so to speak, in terms
Absolutely.
of to help? Because I mean, I don't know what you went through buying land, but buying land in Kenya is another. That's I think
It's a nightmare.
I think it's a tale of two cities.
So okay. When I say for ease of access, I do expect the Kenyan government to do a background check or ask you for a police report from where you're coming from, or like I don't want the people that I'm trying to get away from. I don't want them there either. So
So you're saying you don't want one mic to be you don't want one mic to be your neighbor. You might want Ali.
Yeah, that's messed up.
I'm just
You guys
saying,
are funny.
cool kid.
No, if you
Yeah.
haven't if the thing is though, what I don't think a lot of people realize, you have two sets of people coming to Africa. You have the tourist,
Yes,
the black tourist who just wants to scratch it off the list that been on the continent,
correct.
and then you have those of us that are Afrocentric. We're Pan-Africans, and we want to come home, and we are not coming home empty-handed. We're coming with resources. We're coming with experience,
Yep,
and we want to see the benefit.
and make change. Yeah,
We want to see us being of benefit to whatever region we're in. Because everybody I know who wants to go to Africa, yes, they want to be financially stable, but they're talking about, oh, what else am I going to do for the community? I haven't met one person yet that's about, oh, let me just go take as much as I can. I haven't seen that. So I think you're getting a different caliber of people coming, people that have good intentions.
He mentions a lot of black, non let's say Kenyan
Yeah.
visiting, and I think I remember in one of our behind the tent moments, Mika mentioned something about how what we're not realizing is that there's a huge
market.
Oh yeah, there is a huge market. for
Yeah,
that.
Mika, he mentioned it, and I was like, I didn't think about it that much because I don't see it, because what we are shown is one thing.
Yeah, because I think with Mika, with the number of times he's gone
Yes.
to Jamaica, he's been seeing a lot of like black Americans just going there, spending a lot of
you
money.
just look at it. Look at it this way. Look at Jamaica. Like if you went at the airport in Montego Bay, it was just black people, black Americans, and then even the whole resort is just black Americans. Look at the DR, Dominican Republic. The biggest market is usually what? Black Americans. Despite them going there and being treated badly, they still go back there because it's a closed destination. Like it's a friendly destination to them in some way.
Okay.
If you look at places like Tulum, Cancun, Mexico, all this, it's just, and this, I can tell you, this is an untapped market that I believe is huge than the current tourism market that African countries are trying to chase with the European market
And white Americans.
the white American market. Like African American market is a huge tourism untapped market that African countries need to look at because. Well,
yeah,
my guy.
And you know, it's interesting, Mika, you mentioned that. There was a time I met people from the Kenya Tourism Board in one of the, I think it was at the New York Marathon that I'd gone to. And I met people from the Kenya Tourism Board. And I mentioned this to them and they were so confused. You know, like it was kind of like, what are you talking about?
Those guys are clueless.
It's so, no, I think, you know, like everything is wired to white people.
Yes.
You know, like in Kenya Tourism Board.
Yeah.
From the marketing materials to even what they actually market. You know, like, yes, it's great to go for safaris. It's great to go to the sandy beaches, but Kenya offers much more than that.
Correct.
There's so many other things that that black people, black tourists would be interested in that Kenya Tourism Board is just not in tune with. And then when they look for a black person to help them market, they go for personalities who are not necessarily in touch with the black community.
Have no clue.
They go for Naomi Campbell. You know, and I mean, I'm sorry, Naomi, we love you, but I'm sorry to say, especially the younger demographic, they're not going to be influenced by what Naomi does. There's a lot of, you know, like travel bloggers who are on YouTube. Those are the ones who are actually influencing people to want to go to places. The Wodemeyers, the Tayos,
you know,
and there's also some, you know, like there's actually African Americans who are in Kenya, and there's multiple of them.
Yes.
There's one from Texas. I'm forgetting his name. I think it's called Austin something. I can't remember his full name, but he's been to Kenya, and man, he loves Kenya so much. I mean, he's gone to the other countries, and he's politically incorrect. You know, like he'll tell you why he loves Kenya over Tanzania, for example. I'm not going to mention that. You have to go to his YouTube page. I'm going to share with you guys, but he'll specifically tell you.
Bandio might catch feelings. So
Yes, yes, but he'll specifically tell you why he loves this country over that country, which is a very good thing. I think that's an opportunity, like Mika said, that we are sleeping on. Near Generational on YouTube, I think, wants to call. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Near, you're not gonna be. We're not gonna see you. Don't worry, your face is not gonna be shown. It's just audio. You know, today we are only. The only face you're going to see is our faces here in studio and Afro Jamaican's face, who's currently in Canada. So you can call that number 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak in case you have a question. And while we are waiting for that call, Afro Jamaican, there's this thing called expectations. I feel like black people, especially in the Western Hemisphere, have gotten so excited about this idea of Africa. I'm talking about even the ones who haven't gone there yet, but the excitement is there. How do we manage that expectation? Because sometimes that excitement, too much excitement, sometimes may lead to disappointment. So what's something that you can tell someone who has that excitement that hasn't gone to Africa yet, or rather to Kenya yet, needs to be wary about? Afro Jamaican.
So if you are Black American and you're thinking of going to Africa, I'm going to say do some, especially if you're Afrocentric, you're a strong Pan-Africanist, do some research, because people in Africa, their experience is very different from ours. So they're not, and this is from my experience now, I did not find Kenyans overtly, I don't want to say black, but I don't know if you understand what I mean. Blackness, they're not identified by their blackness. So coming from somewhere where it's very much a part of our culture for them, they're just Kenyans. So they're not going to, you might see them being extra friendly to Europeans, whereas you would be like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So be very aware of that, because they're not the same. Their experiences are definitely not the same.
Correct.
So they're not gonna have that not militant, that they're not gonna have that passion that you have for your Africanness.
The fire.
Yes, they won't have that fire.
And,
Not all of them.
And we never had. I think if you talk to what's her name, the artist, Anna Malago.
Yes.
So Anna Malago is a Kenyan artist. So she goes around. She has a band. Does lectures and poetry and things like that. And she has, is it a play or I think it's a play.
No, it's spoken word.
It's a spoken word, right?
Yeah.
And one of them is that she did not realize she was black until she came to
here.
America.
Yeah.
And then she breaks it down and explains it, like what she went through, we also didn't realize our blackness or how black we were until we started interacting with the white man here. So, and we look at things very differently, just like you say. So when I go back home and I see a waiter at a restaurant is, like you said, being overtly nice to the white person, and they may take their time getting to me, I get pissed off. And I tell them off, and I break it down to them as to why they should not do what they are doing. Because my money is the same color, I guess, if you're using a dollar, my money is green just like the green money that they have. So, you guys need to realize that. And I realize your value more than they do, but you don't realize that because you assume since they're of that color that they value you more, or they'll tip you, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and another interesting thing, Kaiser, about the Swahili language, because, language sometimes tells a story about the people. And that's the reason why it's very important for all Africans to, get more in touch with the languages. So regarding, skin color, Kiswahili doesn't assign colors to race. That's an English thing. Black, white, or brown people. So Kiswahili doesn't use colors. When you talk about a white person in Kiswahili, if you directly translate it, mtu mweupe, it means a light-skinned person. It doesn't mean a white person. Mtu mweusi, a black person, it means a dark-skinned person. Does not necessarily mean of course, if you're dark-skinned, you're most likely African, but it's a dark-skinned person. So when it comes to race, we assign specific names. White people, wazungu; Indians, wahindi; Arabs, waarabu. There's no these are brown people. That's an English thing. So and that's something that I think people who are learning the language sometimes have difficulty, and even people who know the language, I've had people sometimes say watu weusi to mean black people in America, and I've had conversations about this with some people who are very good in Kiswahili. That's a phraseology that I disagree with, because if you're randomly talking to, of course, someone like my late grandmother who never spoke any English, if you tell them to mweusi, what she understands is not black people. She understands it's a dark-skinned person. So that's just something about the nuances of color. And I think we do have a caller.
Yes, we do. 45. Let me make sure.
Last four numbers.
4519.
Yeah. Tell us your name, and please tell us also where you're calling from. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. This is. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
This is Nia Generation. I'm from Ohio.
Woo! Welcome, Nia.
Karibu sana, karibu sana.
Nice to finally hear your voice.
Kiswahili yangu is nimbaya, nimesahau Kiswahili yangu.
Kiswahili chako ni kizuri. Kiswahili chako kiko sawa.
Uko sawa kabisa.
Iko sawa kabisa. Usiwe na wasiwasi.
It's been a long time. I haven't been there since 1990. So,
wow.
I just wanted to thank you guys. Thank you, One Mic. I actually have good news. I was going to let you guys know. I got in contact with my family. So,
nice.
Good, great.
How that work is, I sent messages to Nairobi Hospital, and I was able to find my uncle, who's a doctor, and we've been communicating, and that's been many years. They were crying, I was crying, so I'm so happy that I was able to locate them finally. So
Wow.
thank you guys, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
1990, I think Omosh over here was like already...
No, Omosh was in his 30s.
Was in his 70s, I think 40s.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
carry on.
Wow.
I went to Kilimani. I went to Aga Khan for a little while. Like I was there for about 4 or 5 years, and then I came back and finished high school here in Ohio. But I just wanted to say that I'm just happy because I know with the internet, I know you guys are talking about the diaspora and Black Americans going back. And, I think it's also a spiritual thing for a lot of Black Americans. When you're in Kenya, and I used to tell this to a lot of like my Black American relatives on my mother's side, my father is the one who's Kenyan, that it's just a whole different thing to see when you're in a country, the advertising, you see Black people. When you go to an office, it's Black people handling business. And I think that's why some people get so excited, because you're living in a society where you constantly have to validate and prove yourself, whether it's on the job or you have to be paranoid. If I'm driving, are they going to pull me over for no reason? You don't have to worry about a lot of that in Africa. And I think when you're born in an all-Black country, I got to experience that for a couple of years. You don't have to worry about that. And you see people, you see your reflection in other people who are doing well. So it's really like a spiritual journey for a lot of diasporan people, in my opinion. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So Nia, thank you so much, for calling, and that, very touching story, like
And
I'm
the
still
good
not
news.
over it. That's very good news.
She got in touch with her family.
Yes, she got in touch with her family. And you know what Nia earned? Nia earned her episode on the One Mic Show.
Thank you. I was about to say.
So we're going to have a conversation about that on the
So
side.
do we need her to practice her Swahili? Because we could do this in...
No, but she's already she's already there. She's already spoken in song. Yeah, yuko sawa.
Ako sawa kabisa.
We can't talk about her. I wanted to say something about her, but I remember
Hatuwezi
she's going to
kusengenya.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't say she has a big head or...
Well, maybe you guys can help me learn.
There you
It's been a
go.
long
Well,
time.
Ali
I had
is actually a good
problems with
teacher.
Past tense and future tense and stuff like that when I was there.
That's
so.
the tougher
worry.
part of the
No,
language.
no worries, no worries. But now we are already invested in your story, and we'll have a conversation with you about what Friday you're going to be
Okay.
free. But then you're going to have to show your face. We'll have to see your beautiful face.
Upende usipende.
No hiding for that episode.
Well, you
Mapema
know
ndio
what?
best.
I just want to say thank you guys for all the work you do. I'm going to let you go. I know you have a guest, but you guys are doing an awesome job. So asante sana to all of you guys.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for being
All right.
a listener.
Kwaheri.
Kwaheri. Wow.
Bye-bye.
Hi.
Wow, you know that's the magic of the World Wide Web, and here we are seeing what we've been talking about happening live. For a very long time.
Think about it.
For a very long, yes. Think about it. Kaiser just found us randomly on YouTube,
Right.
and then Nia, has been listening to us, and now is connecting with the Kenyan relatives.
Uh-huh.
And we are living in an era where, because for a very long time, there was information gatekeepers before the internet came to being. There was a lot of information gatekeeping, and that's why there was so much propaganda on what people thought about Africa, what Black people in Western countries thought about Africa, and what Africans thought about Black people in this part of the world.
Yes.
And we came with some of that propaganda.
Misconception, of course.
There was a lot of misconceptions, but because the gatekeepers are gone, we are finding each other. So someone, instead of saying, I'm not going to go, try to find this information from CNN, I know Kenyans, I'm going to go listen to them. I'm going to hear what they tell me, and based on what they tell me, I'm going to make a decision. Or you know what? I'm just going to buy a ticket and I'm going to go there. I don't care, if someone says that people are killing each other, there's violence. I mean, people are killing each other right here in DC. So I like that attitude that people are having, Black people are having. We are slowly becoming unafraid of each other, because we've been taught for such a long time to be afraid of each other, to dislike each other, and to tribalize each other. You're from this country, I'm from that country, and you're like this or you're like that, but that's breaking down.
Ergo Montgomery Brawl, but carry on.
Yes, Montgomery Ball. But let's go back to Kaiser. Maybe
And
Kaiser,
then-
just tell us what you think about what Nia just revealed on that phone
And
call.
before he chimes in, I think what Nia needs to do is she can inbox details of how to reach out.
Yes, no, Nia, inbox one of us, either on
Even
on
on the
YouTube
show,
or on Facebook, and give us your contacts, and we'll work on this, because your story, we're now invested in it.
Kabisa.
Yeah.
Kaiser Soze.
I'm happy she found her family, man. Sound like
That's
it was
good,
years in the making.
Yeah, there's a back end story to it, and maybe she'll come on the show and share it.
And maybe a
There's-
novel too in the works.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
never
she
know.
might. Yeah, she might have a couple of books in her. You never know.
Yeah.
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
So you would ask, you were asking about land as well. And
Yes.
that buying land in Kenya is sketchy. So listen, Kenya is actually not as bad as Ghana. It's not as bad. So I was watching YouTube again. Woody Meyer was interviewing this guy from Champs Media. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, Chance,
Yeah,
yes.
Alex Chamwada.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chamwada,
And-
yeah.
Yes. And he was interviewing someone from a company called AMG Realtors.
Yes, I
And
remember.
so I was like, wow, this company sounds legitimate. So I went online, I scoured the internet. I couldn't find anything bad about them. So I picked up the phone, and this is me back in Canada now after going to Kenya, getting depressed because I've left Kenya. And that's a real thing, by the way. People in the comments can tell you.
It
When you're-
happens to us when we come back.
Yeah, you get depressed. So me in my depression, I'm like, I have to establish some kind of tie with this country. I see the commercial for land selling in Kenya. I literally called up the company. I got a manager on the phone, and I said, I want to buy a piece of land. And I told my friends and family, I'm buying land from Kenya online. And everybody thought I was absolutely crazy.
Wow.
Even Kenyans there's a Facebook, a Black expat Kenyan group. They told me, you're mad
Yeah.
buying land online.
Mhm.
But I did my research, and I felt fairly confident that the company had been around for, I think at that point, 9 years. So I did it. And honestly, within 6 weeks, I got my title deeds shipped right here to Canada.
Wow.
And it was a very good experience. So, and now whenever anybody want land, I said, go buy from them. Nothing has broken yet. So
Okay.
If it
So
ain't broke, don't
are
fix
they
it.
are they giving you kidogo? I mean, kickback, or
no.
I'm just asking.
No, there's
for,
no kickback.
asking
This is
for
the
a friend.
this is the thing. I don't do things like that. Even when people from my YouTube channel, Afro Jamaican,
Uh-huh.
and I tell my story, people write me and they'll say, "How did you do it?" And I'll tell them.
Yes.
And one person said to me, "How much do you charge?" And I go, "Charge for what?" For the information. I'm like, no. Why would I charge you? I'm giving you information. You're looking at the same thing I'm looking for. I'm not here to exploit anyone.
Correct.
And my thing is, all boats rise with the tide. So if I'm doing good,
Yes.
then the person in Kenya is going to do good. This person's going to buy the land. They're going to do good. And eventually they'll move to Kenya and probably start a business and employ someone.
Yes.
So that's the end game for me anyways.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. Good. I hope that some of our people who charge us for things they shouldn't charge us for are listening.
Now, like sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith, and it's nice sometimes hearing from a perspective from someone
it's refreshing.
who's an
Ali.
Kenyan, because we're also very critical and
we are
very
extreme.
yes, as Kenyans.
Ali, we are extreme. In
Yes.
fact, just like his experience with the land, like he said, he went through the process, picked the phone up, and called and went through, did his due diligence in as much as he could do it.
Yeah.
Our own Kenyans, when you present them, in fact, you could even give them the title at that point and tell
Yeah.
them, go do whatever research you need to do, call your lawyer, do your this, they'll still not purchase it.
I think the bad experiences loom large.
But this is someone who has never had a bad experience.
That's right, but
And
I'm
so
saying,
why
but I'm
am-
saying the fear of
yeah,
Kenyans
uh-huh.
because he's not like Afro Jamaican is not necessarily as plugged as to so many Kenyan WhatsApp groups, for example,
Oh,
like
that's
the way we are.
the horror stories.
So the horror stories and the bad experiences loom large, and it makes people have fear. So it's refreshing sometimes to hear from someone who just took a leap of faith, did not necessarily know anyone or know, you know, like anything extra. It's important to know this. Now there's quite a number of comments coming here.
Yeah,
Mike, just read a couple of the comments
Jackie
coming in.
Wanjiru says it's a hassle to buy land in KE, but if you use a company like Optiven, the process is easy and smooth. You probably use them because I purchased a couple of plots at the same place he did, and they were the ones selling them in that area. Kenya is still stuck in the colonial strategy of courting white tourists. This is coming from Washeke. She adds on, even the Kenyan diaspora is a big market, but no one has packages for us. Quite interesting.
Yeah, they don't know how to package
No,
to
they
us.
don't.
No,
In
they
any way,
don't.
even the guys who come as diaspora reps for the banks, like
No,
that
they
stuff
don't.
they tell you, and you look
Yeah.
at this person like, are you?
Yeah.
What are you smoking?
Yeah, so I think that's something that they need to learn. And also Jackie is saying, you know, this was another comment. He says Kenya is a joke. Wow, you know, Kenyans were a bit harsh sometimes. I went and represented Kenya in Malaysia in 2018 at the Mrs. Tourism International pageant, and the Ministry of Kenya did not help support with a single dime. It would have been nice if they did, because that experience costed a pretty penny. Lakini they'll engage Naomi Campbell to rep the tourism industry so backwards. All right, so
Kaiser.
go ahead, Kaiser.
So interesting. When I was in Dominican Republic last week, and I met some people, and we're talking about Kenya. I'm like a salesperson for Kenya. So the gentleman said to me, he goes, "Yeah, but have you seen the prices of Kenya? It's like $6,000." I'm like, "Where are you coming from?" "They're coming from France." I'm like, No. I go, "There is a national park in the city of Nairobi that you can get into for under $100. Like,
Correct.
come on, you can buy a ticket, you can book an Airbnb. So they're not marketing Kenya properly, from what I can see.
No,
they're not.
No, the Kenya Tourism Board. In fact, they pick where they market. So I come from an island on Lake Victoria, and literally from and that's the ancestral home. So I was born in Nairobi. So, but from my ancestral home to park, it's about maybe 20 minutes. I'd say 20 to 25 minutes from my ancestral home is this park. And that park is home to the rarest antelopes in Africa. They do not market that park, period. In fact, I think even the guys in the studio, if I mention the park here, they'll be like, well, we may have heard of it, but we don't even know where it is. Because
which is name the park?
the park is called Ruma.
I'm hearing about it for the first time.
Ruma National Park.
Is it near Mount Kenya?
No. This is
so
in,
it's not a Ruma.
It's RUMA. It's in Nyanza, not far from it's in Homa Bay County, and so you're pretty much on your way down to the lake, and you're going towards what's called Rusinga Island, Mbita. It's the lower, I guess, towards the lowest point of the lake, so to speak. But the reason why I say that is even the locals didn't tell me about it. I just happened to run into it. I think I had time doing that around that time, and I was like, you know what? I want to go. Go ahead.
Most of the tourism in Kenya is actually advertised by the individual hotel and resorts and the safari camps that are there. It's not done by the way the government. Or you'll find like Utah will advertise the parks in Utah, everything that Utah has. It's not anything government done. So that is where you find most of these things actually are not that visible. You find out that people will be like, wait, this is in Kenya? This happens in Kenya? Because that's the price. Like if you went, people don't know something like Simba Hills National Park exists. It's a very famous old national park that has been there. Zima Springs is a national park that's there. Most people don't know. People just know Masai Mara. People know Savo East, Savo West, and probably the Abadeas and Amboseli. Even Abadeas, most people don't know there's a national park. They just know there's a forest there.
Okay.
So it comes to when, as Afro Jamaicans say, when you're marketing it as a tourist destination, you just don't. Again, it goes back to what? Aiming for the top dollar tourist, aiming for the cream tours. You're assuming that those are the ones who are going to spend more money. If you can be able to market it as a way whereby, and Kenya is a very self-sufficient country. It's just like coming here. You can come and plan a visit in America.
Yes.
Without spending a lot of money, and be able to visit different states and stay and live. It's the same way with Kenya. There's temporary accommodations everywhere. There are places to go, and you can move within the country and actually communicate and be in communication with the rest of the world nearly from anywhere in that country. That is how they're supposed to market that country.
Kenya Tourism Board.
They marketed in the 1952 marketing that was supposed to be marketed to the lords and ladies of England to come.
Kenya Tourism Board, I
There's no
hope you're tuned
improvement
in.
it.
Yeah, I hope Kenya Tourism Board is tuned in, because, like, that's something that needs to be overhauled. Now, like, as we want to take a quick sports break, like, we're still going to talk about, there's maybe some FIFA World Cup updates we're going to be getting. Real quick, Kaiser, we know that there was recently in Uasin Gishu County, there was a major scandal where parents were fleeced over $1 million shillings they had paid to have their kids study in Canada and Finland. How do you reconcile with the notion that as your coalition tries to seek residency for descendants of enslaved Africans, millions of Africans are trying to make their way out of Africa to seek better opportunities in the West? How do you process this? Or maybe what is it that you feel or think needs to be done? Kaiser.
So Canada and America have very good marketing, exceptionally good marketing. When I was in Kenya, I saw these ads for schools that I knew were fake. I could tell, and I felt bad for them. They sell this image that you're not really coming to school. You're coming so you can register for school and then you register for your PR. Really, that's what's happening. They're just using the school as as a front. And what I try to tell Kenyans that I've met, I said, first thing I do, I will post videos of Canada and of the United States that they would normally never see. Some places, even some places downtown Toronto, I'll send, and they say, "Is that really Canada?" I'm like, "Yes." "Oh, I thought it was a third world country." I'm like, "Well, no place is perfect. Don't be fooled by what they're showing you." Last week, we had a bunch of Kenyans and Ugandans sleeping on the street for 3 weeks downtown Toronto, getting wet in the rain. You understand?
Okay.
These are people who came illegally seeking asylum, and they left them out in the rain for weeks. So people need to understand the reality on the ground. It's not all gold over here. And if you're in Kenya, and so I'll give you an example. One of the security guards that I met when I was in Kenya, I have connected her with people to use as their director for their company. So she's on the board of all these companies, and they have to pay her a salary. You know what she said to me? She goes, "Before I met you, I was dying to leave Kenya." She goes, "I have no reason to leave Kenya." Find a way to whatever talent you have, whatever gift you have, to make it financial. There are so many people wanting to come back to Kenya. Be a ground agent for diaspora. If I need to go pay my taxes, which you guys offer to help, by the way, somebody can go to the tax office for you and charge a fee.
Yes, yeah.
And charge a fee. Don't depend on government for jobs and so on. You have to do it yourself, because running away to a foreign country, when somebody says, "I'm going to put you up," and then you get to the airport and they don't show up, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that happens.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Ali doesn't pick his phone.
I don't invite people who I know I'm not going to pick the phone on. But it happens.
All the time. Somebody said they were staying with family, and after 2 weeks, they put a padlock on the fridge. So don't think.
Yeah, it happens.
Don't. Yes. You have, especially if you have family land in Kenya, go and farm the land.
Say it again. Go and do what?
Farm the land.
Thank you. Hopefully 6 people heard us.
Because you can come here. If you're coming here the legit way, come here, have a 10-year plan, make your money, and go home. That's what I would tell people.
10-year
So I'm
plan.
not telling you not to come.
Mm-hmm.
Have a 10-year plan. I wish I knew about Kenya and all that stuff 10 years ago, because I'm an old man now. I'm almost 50. So I'm just saying to Kenyans, if you get a chance to come to the West, do not be fooled. Come, make your money, and go home. There's no place like home. I don't go back to Jamaica, to be quite honest. I can't afford Jamaica. You have to be a millionaire now to live in Jamaica. But you can live somewhere else. You can go back to, you don't have to go back to Kenya if you don't want to know. You can go to Ghana. You can go to another African country.
54
don't
countries.
Stay here too long.
Yeah.
Don't stay here too long.
Okay, I mean that's something that I'm sure like people who are on the ground in Kenya might have something to say about it.
Right.
Yeah, because they're the ones who are supposed, who are hungry, don't have unga, access to this, that, or the other. But if they listen to what Afro Jamaican is saying, he is actually saying if you can find a way to be self-reliant and you're not relying on the government, that thing, whatever it is that you're doing, it may be the one that's the ticket out. But don't sit there relying on the government to give you a handout. It's not going to happen.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
On that particular part.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
you're totally right.
So as we get Neyman ready for the sports segment, I wanna read a few comments in the meantime as he's getting his sports together. We had Jamaica that was playing in the round of 16. We had a bunch of African countries. He's gonna let us know what happened there. And then there was a comment here that was coming from Washeken Irangu. She says, I think we overmarket Masai Mara during the wildebeest migration when there are so many attractions, both natural and people, that can earn us foreign exchange and create employment, which I think is also very interesting. Think about, for example, like here in DC, I would sometimes wonder, for a long time, why the museums are free. Think about like the Museum of African American History. That museum is bringing so many people. The museum is free, but these people are coming to DC just to see that museum. They're spending money in hotels. They're buying food. They're doing so many things. And when you go downtown DC, at the National Mall, it's always buzzing. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't matter whether it's a weekend, weekday. There are always so many people there. And then there was also another comment that came on YouTube from Kenyan living abroad. I wanted to ask the guest after challenges faced when applying for work permit because my partner was asked to pay an extra $2,000 for easy documentation on top of the $2,500 government asks for. That's how I lost. So I think that's something that you're going to get back to answering after the sports segment. And then Leslie says this guy trusts his instincts, which is very true. And then Near Generational says Unilever should not be controlling fertile land. Yes, these corporations.
Wow.
Yes, these corporations.
That's like 68 other conversations.
Yeah. And then Nia says America is not what people overseas think. Skid Row in LA, Kensington Avenue in Philly. The US is in decline in many aspects. And these are places that we've all gone, we've all seen Skid Row.
I would venture to say that, yes.
Remember when I was in LA, I don't know if they remember when I was in LA for rugby, I got there a day before and I took a video of Skid Row. And there were just a bunch of homeless people.
Correct.
Like in a very long stretch. And then Yobarthan says, I love Kenya, would love to live there one day, and we welcome you. He says, I'm from Philly, and I agree with Nia. He says, Africa has so much potential and beauty. America is not what people think. And then Leslie B says, the food prices in Canada will turn them around.
Oh.
So, yes. So that's
so is Canada food prices the same now as Hawaii, or is they're close?
Canada is expensive.
I know it's. I haven't been to Canada in a long time. I think
Canada
the last time I was there, hey man, that was whoo.
Yeah.
It was Muhadara.
Yeah.
No, but I loved because one of my friends was living in Toronto and they lived in an apartment building. I think it's like maybe a 10 floor apartment building. But most of
the views.
The view there was nice. And most of the people there were, I think, West African, Jamaican. Pretty much it was Africans and Jamaicans in that building. It was almost like being, like with some other black folks. So, you're walking in the hallway and you meet black folk. Hey, pound. Like everybody kind of knows each other. You smell, everybody cooking, gari or whatever, And I'm like, oh, wow. you know, it was, and he was in Toronto. Then he was moving to the Starbucks.
Kwani harufu ya samaki tulifurahia.
This guy here.
All
This
right.
guy here.
Yeah.
And
all
on
right.
that,
Yeah. So yeah, no, we're good.
okay.
Sports and more sports in the One Mic Show.
Go ahead.
All right. What's going on? My name is Naiman Muta. If you're familiar with me, I've been in the past few shows, and this is Mutegeki on the mic. I've been working on that.
What?
Mutegeki, my middle name.
Okay.
Mutegeki.
So what does
yeah,
Mutegeki? Does it have a meaning?
My grandfather, it's from my dad's dad, my grandfather. He gave a middle name to me when I was.
Okay. Mutegeki. I like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
Now we're gonna now work on the
In Kenya we have Mutegi and Mutego.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Kenya.
Mutegeki.
Yeah.
That's
Interesting.
That's a nice name.
That's unique.
It's a nice name.
Yeah.
All right. What do you have for us, my friend?
An emotional roller coaster this week in the Women's World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We were talking about the African teams last week.
Mm-hmm.
The African teams, including Jamaica. Jamaica.
Yes.
And
We have one more left, but carry on.
but the first African team that went out, Netherlands defeated South Africa 2-0.
Oh.
And yeah, it wasn't good. The next game, England. This was probably the tightest game so far I've seen with African teams. And
Yes.
Nigeria, there was 0-0 the whole game, and it went to penalties, and they lost 4-2.
Very sad.
So it was very, very sad. Yeah.
Penalty taking.
And then Colombia,
Nerves.
they just got past Jamaica 1-0,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
France.
So it
cruised
was
past
Africa on Africa. So
I
it's
think
okay.
Yeah.
that Colombia, you know, that Colombia game is, I'm like, I think that was like a fluke. But what do I know? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Colombia was
lastly-
not a fluke.
Lastly,
Colombia.
France.
Colombia one of the dark
horses.
Colombia one of the dark horses in this World Cup.
Okay.
Yeah, the one. I remember you were talking about all these underdogs, like the underdogs taking over the World Cup. but We haven't seen that. Only one team. So yeah, it's
No,
really
but
been
let's
dominant.
look at
It's
it.
been
Let's
dominant.
look at it this way.
Alright.
Damon. Let's look at the teams that have been knocked out from the World Cup, and when we compare the underdogs and the overdogs on this World Cup, right?
Okay.
The teams that are going on right now, we've seen the Netherlands being knocked out by Spain. The Netherlands were one of the major heavy teams. The USA
Spain's
was
a very
knocked
good
out,
team too.
right? Yeah, the USA were knocked out again. The USA were knocked out by
Sweden.
Sweden.
On
Sweden, which is a
penalties.
good team, but then the USA was one of the favorites to advance from this tournament. Germany were knocked out, who again one of the most favored teams that are supposed to be able to. They were one of the expected teams that were supposed to move on. Brazil were knocked out, and Jamaica moved on. So that's an underdog that actually moved on from that group to go on. So if
we're
we are
talking about
looking right now,
progressing,
to the,
right? We're talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
progressing.
we're talking about progressing. Like let's look when the teams are knocked out, right? When the teams are knocked out, when Germany was knocked out, when the USA was knocked out, when Brazil was knocked out, right? When we had teams like South Africa moving on for the first time, we had Jamaica moving on for the first time, we had Nigeria moving on for the first time. So all these are underdogs that were not supposed to come out of the group stages. That actually went Morocco.
Yeah.
So all these were underdog teams that came out of the group stages and went into the knockout stages. Now, in the knockout stages, where's the business end of the tournament, is where we are seeing some of the underdogs going out. A team like Colombia, which is performing right now, is one of the dark horses, and Colombia is not also one of the major teams that actually progress. So in tomorrow's game, we have England and Colombia. That's a banana skin game for England. England is seen as one of the favorites, but this is a game that can go either way. Australia-France is another game whereby Australia is expected to progress better than the France. But then now, if we go back and look at how things are, teams like Spain and France are teams and England are teams which right now, if you look at the category of women football, are coming up. They're improving because they have improved their leagues. That is why you see the USA was having it hard. Traditional giants was usually USA, Sweden, Germany, USA, Sweden, Germany, USA, Sweden, Germany, China, Brazil, Japan. Those five. Those five were the traditional giants for the women's game. Now we are seeing countries that have invested into their leagues, like France, Spain, right? Building giants like Netherlands. So we've seen a team like Colombia. Also now it's in the same league. Then it easily can go to the semifinals if they beat England. So this has been a World Cup whereby when we have the next semifinals coming in, we have Spain and Sweden in the first semifinal, right? The next semifinal, we can have either England, Colombia, Australia, or France. Sweden are the only team of the traditional giants that's in the semifinal.
But France are still a giant team. Like you're talking about them.
France are a recent team that has come up
recently, but they're still considered a giant team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're recent. That's football. That's football. But then I'm talking about traditional giants, right? Names that we are used to, with names that we expect that these are, when we go to the Men's World Cup, we expect Brazil to be there. We expect Germany to be there. We expect, right? So when we have new teams that are coming up that are good, like the French, like the Croatians, right? When we have teams like those coming up, yes, they're good right now for the moment because it's their moment to shine. It's them in the past few years building to this World Cup that they've improved. But then those that we are known, the names of the traditional names that we're used for when it comes to women's sports, to women's soccer, Sweden will be the only known name out of it. Spain is a new entrant that is coming in. England is a new entrant that is coming in into the world into world domination of football. In the female side, in the women's side, Colombia is a new name. So of the four quarterfinalists that are playing tomorrow, or as Omosho is telling me tonight, because it's still going to be dark, only Australia are one of the old names that are known. Between Australia, France, England, Colombia, out of those four, Australia is one of the old names. Then on the other two semifinalists, Sweden is the other main name again that's there. So this has been a World Cup whereby traditionalists have already been kicked out. So we might have a final whereby we can actually have teams going to the final for the first time.
Okay, let's hear name
somebody win the World Cup for the first time.
Right.
Okay, let's hear name and stake. Yeah.
Right, but still, no matter how France is coming up, England's coming up, and I agree with what you're saying, but there's still big names because this is the 2023 Women's World Cup, and they've shown that they're big names. They've shown that they're big teams. So they're showing that they're performing, they're doing what they're supposed to. They're doing what they're doing.
Okay,
but you can't make it seem like they're small teams. You can't make it seem like they're small teams because they're already known. It's the 2023 Women's World Cup. Okay, say France, they started, becoming a better team, coming from 2019, the 2019 World Cup. But they've had a whole 4 years to develop. They had a whole 4 years to grow. But you can say that they've grown. They're not a Sweden. They're not a Sweden. They're not a Germany. Sure.
Okay. So
they're still
a
top team because of the experience that they've gained.
Yeah. So here, there's a difference in opinion. There's a difference in opinion.
But hold up, Ali. Let me rectify something. When I say a big name, I'm not saying that they're not big when they come and play. When I'm saying big name, I'm talking tradition. I'm talking about previous wins, previous performance on how they've been performing on the tournament. How long have they been performing in the tournament, the development, and how they are. That is where, again, as I said, I gave an example. The men's game, you cannot compare Brazil in terms of somebody saying Brazil is a big name to a team like Croatia or a team like which other men's team performed, Morocco, that went far. Right? They went far in the tournament, and that's the beauty of tournament football. In tournament football, it's usually not about what history or whatever. It's about current form, how you're performing that time, how you prepare yourself, and how you're playing with that. And now currently, with the current form that we have right now, we are seeing teams that historically are not known as powerhouses.
So let me ask you this.
Okay. So let me say something. So you see, like in sports, sometimes like in sports analysis, this is where now sometimes you have, like a difference in opinion of how, like, I mean, the way Mika is perceiving it, and also the way Neyman here is perceiving it, but moving on forward, like we're talking about the last the final 8. Who are you guys like in your mind, who in your mind are you looking at to see making it to the semifinals? Maybe let's start with you, and then we're gonna go to listens to Mika's picks, and then we can come back again and make a comparison.
Okay, so Sweden is already in the semifinals. Spain's already in the semifinals. So
Yeah.
Spain will play Sweden. And for the last two, I got England, and the other game is France.
Who's
right?
England playing in the quarters?
England's playing
Colombia.
Colombia. They're playing
Ooh.
I don't see England making it in that, and the only reason I'll tell, because James is out, she's not playing, so I don't.
No, but they have,
red card.
but they have, but the
But
thing is, they have a Latoon who plays that position really well.
Okay.
And when England started the tournament, James didn't play the first game. James came in for the second game when she was on form, and that is why he took the position.
Okay.
And also, like what I've been saying, to become a stronger team.
But
the
Latoon is equally pretty good.
Yeah.
So the thing is, for me, when I see the Spain versus Sweden matchup in that team, I want to say that the Swedes are very experienced, but then the Spanish have a young, vibrant team that just plays some beautiful football.
Tiki-taka.
And it's hard to say that who I'm gonna choose as a clear winner for both of them, but I will say this: if England qualify, if England beat Colombia, and then France beats Australia, I will give England to go all the way to the finals.
Okay.
And England to go to the finals and play with Sweden. But Australia, by virtue of them playing at home, because remember, when France are a very good team,
12th man.
Australia, by virtue of them playing at home, have that 12th man advantage that is helping them out.
Okay.
And man, anyway, overall, I will let me just go by. I would say an England-Sweden final.
Wow.
And I'll say an England-Sweden final, and an out of the England-Sweden final, I don't see England winning their first tournament. I don't see them winning their first.
Or
I
don't see them winning.
Sweden, yeah, I don't see them. I think Sweden will be a little bit stronger than them. But I'll stick with those two based on just how I'm ranking them.
Okay.
Based on just how I'm ranking them. I'll say a final between an England Sweden, and probably see Sweden win it. But if it's any other matchup that doesn't involve Sweden and England, I will say for the other teams that are remaining, I will say most likely Spain to be the outside team from those two to win it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let's-
Neyman, give us your picks, and then also wrap it up for us.
Yeah, so I have Sweden winning against Spain. I definitely think that's Spain.
In the
Sweden
final?
No, semifinal.
Semifinal.
Sorry,
Sweden
okay.
and
Yeah,
Spain.
okay,
So
sorry.
I have them Sweden winning in the semifinal, going to the final, and then I have Australia versus England. I think that Australia, because they're the host, they're one of the host nations. So they definitely have that boost.
Yeah,
So
the
it'll be a
12th
tight
man,
game, but
yeah.
Australia definitely has the boost. So Australia versus France, Australia versus England, and then in the final I have, I think Australia and Sweden. I think Australia and Sweden.
No England in the final.
Yeah,
No England.
So you're saying here that Australia over France?
Because they're the host nation.
Australia will have
That's
Australia
12th
have the
man,
advantage-
man. It
have
makes
the
a difference.
advantage of the fans. One mic. That is the thing that will put
That adrenaline.
and then another thing is Australia. Australia are one of the strong teams in the women's.
They have a good team.
In the women's, it's one of the giants, right? Them and Sweden are one of the oldies, one of the old teams that have dominated women soccer. So they have more experience than this French team. So that experience and that experience of playing in these tournaments and being in this stage, and then them being at home, will push them over this inexperienced French side. The French are a young team, just like the English and the Spanish. They are a young team. They are young in terms of going far in tournament football and having systems that allow them to play together. Right? Remember, these are teams that are like what 6 years old, 8 years old in a system that's been put together to allow them to work together, compared to these other teams that have had these systems for years and years. So these are young teams when it comes to this to the gelling and the working and the building together. Even if you see their players, they're pretty young players. The players who are playing in new leagues in Europe, which are getting stronger and better, but they're young teams. So Australia can easily beat France by that virtue of just the experience of the team. So the Sweden-Australia final is a very good final, it's a very doable final. But then, name and who do you see taking it all between the two?
Oh, and another thing I also wanted to bring up as well with the African teams, going back to that, was something ironic, and I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but the Netherlands and South Africa were a Dutch colony. Nigeria were formerly they were an English colony. Morocco formerly being a French colony, and all of them losing. So it was definitely a tough pill to swallow.
Oh wow!
Think historically.
Yeah, I know. Like I'd not even thought about that. The South Africans are, like you had the Boers.
Yes.
Who are basically the
ones who call them Blake.
Yeah, Blake, not Blake, Blake. You're Blake people.
The Blake people. Yeah. So repeat that again. So the South Africa
were a Dutch colony.
Right.
France, Morocco were a French colony.
Right.
And then Nigeria were English colony.
Okay. and South Africa's
something to think about.
South Africa's story was more tragic because they were first colonized by the British. Then the Dutch. Remember that atlas we used to have that would show the country's independence at the back of the cover. It used to show South African independence 1910. And I used to wonder, because that's a time when this struggle for Mandela was happening. But 1910, I think, is when the Dutch had defeated the Boers, had defeated the British. So now they were being colonized by a new power. And then they implemented that system. It's apartheid, which Trevor Noah called the perfect system for racism. They went benchmarking in every racist country in the world, like how they do racism. And apartheid was a combination of all these benchmarkings of racism, and it was a perfect version of racism. So that's quite that was quite a painful pill to swallow.
All right.
Yeah. So your picks, you're not running. You're not gonna run from that.
Yeah, the final.
Your picks. Yeah. Just say it.
Sweden.
Okay.
Sweden.
All right.
Sweden.
All right.
Wow.
Now,
So both of us are on Sweden.
Oh, both of you are on
So
Sweden.
both of you are on Sweden. Okay.
Wow.
We had a few disagreements, but Sweden we can agree
After
on.
all this, taking us through all of this,
Or do you wanna change your mind?
I mean, we'll see. Okay. The finals.
We're giving you a chance.
Sweden.
No.
Sweden.
As I said, for me, Sweden. If it's that, if Sweden doesn't make it to the final, that it's final maybe between, let's say, England and France, or so England and France, or England and Spain, or Colombia and Spain. Of those three, I see the Spanish making it. The English.
Will James play? Will James play?
I think if it's one of those two small ones, I see the Spanish make it. The English just might have an advantage by having the best goalkeeper in the world in the women's game, but
will James play in the finals if England qualifies for the finals?
I think
she will play in the finals.
Okay.
She'll play in the finals. And then one thing that most people have not even noticed about the English team: have you seen how many goals have they conceded in this tournament?
What, the
Have they
English?
conceded any?
Yeah, the English.
Have they conceded any?
I don't.
No, I don't think they have.
I don't know.
Zero.
Yeah, they've not considered any goals. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's another factor to consider when people who bet and put picks that's another thing to consider when you're putting in that bet.
Okay, you have something, one last something.
Yeah. Switching gears to some exciting news. The men's in the men's football world, the Premier League, La Liga, the leagues have come back. Yeah. So the English Premier League and La Liga kicked off today. Almeria kicked off La Liga in a matchup against Rayo Vallecano, and they lost 2-0. Sevilla hosted Valencia and also lost 2-1. And in the Premier League, trouble-winning Manchester City, my team, they won 3-0.
You're
They
about
won-
That shirt don't look like a Man City shirt.
Yeah, I mean, it
it's
says
Tanzania
it
shirt, but
says
it's not
Joe.
Tanzania.
No, it
Don't
says
look like
Joe
a Man
Sport.
City
It
shirt.
says Joe Sport.
Who's John Sport?
This is Tanzania.
It's
Sport.
Joe.
Who is John
Joe.
Sport?
It's Joe.
Joe.
I think
Who is
Joe.
Joe?
I think Joe must be his relative.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
but
right. So
nothing
Man
wrong
City
representing
won.
my country. Yeah. Man City won 3-0, and Erling Haaland scored 2 goals.
That Haaland guy.
He's so good.
Kutangulia basi ya kulewa.
Yeah, I know.
Ask
He's
it.
We'll slow them down. We
He's
are
on
playing
the
them
verge.
in.
He's
yeah.
on the verge to winning the Ballon d'Or, guys. He's on the verge to winning.
What?
He's on the verge to winning the Ballon d'Or.
I mean, he's
He
scoring
is.
goals. You know, he's definitely scoring a lot of goals.
Let's
But
see what happens.
yeah, but Arsenal is going to stop him.
No,
I
he
think
will
we're playing
win
in-
it.
hell
He
no.
will win it
Hell no.
because he will win it because of the treble.
Okay,
And that's what the Ballon d'Or does. It's Ballon d'Or.
Okay.
When,
Yeah,
the player,
because of the treble.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
I know. It's the same year that Messi won the World Cup, but then Messi didn't do anything with PSG, just the World Cup.
Yeah, Messi
So-
after the
so
World
he's
Cup.
the- yeah. So
It'll be
it's
close.
gonna be.
it'll definitely be
It's
close.
gonna be him. It's
Yeah.
gonna be Haaland who's gonna get it. But then,
Yeah.
one thing that we usually do at the beginning of the season is everybody guessing their top four. In no particular order. We usually start with just guess your top four, and then after you guess your top four, later on during the year we rearrange on who we think is gonna win. So tutaanza kama kawaida. Umosh, top four this year.
I have Man United, Man City. I'll throw Chelsea in because I'm throwing Chelsea because I'm a Chelsea fan.
Chelsea.
And I don't want to throw Arsenal in there, but I got to give them props. So I'll throw Arsenal in there.
Okay. All right.
Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Ali.
Number one, very easy. You know, like I don't like such easy questions.
Just give the top four.
Yeah, I don't like such easy questions. But number one is Arsenal, of course. A distant second, Man City. Number three, I'm gonna give Liverpool, and then number four, tough choice, but I'm gonna give it to Tottenham Hotspurs.
Tottenham after Harry Kane left.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Let's talk at the end of the season.
It's okay. Let him go.
Let's talk at the end of the
Some
season.
guys-
I'm just surprised. I'm
Yeah.
just surprised.
No, let's talk at the end of the season.
All right, Mika.
For me, Man City, Man United, Arsenal, and I want to say Liverpool, but they don't have a defensive midfielder.
Right.
And if Chelsea get Caicedo and Lavia as they're planning right now, they'll probably improve.
But
their
he's
team.
also close to joining
So-
Liverpool. Caicedo.
Yeah, but he refused Liverpool.
he wants-
so
he
he's
wants to go
going
to
to
Chelsea.
Chelsea. So- yeah, so I will
That's
put
gonna
in
go down
Chelsea.
to the wire.
there.
Okay.
Man United, yeah.
What are your picks?
Okay, so me, no question. Man City first place. Man City first place. Arsenal second place. Man United third place, and last fourth place. I'll go with Liverpool. I think Liverpool will return back to the top four.
Okay.
Okay.
Me,
Alright.
But this is right now. Like what you said, we'll see at the end of the season.
We'll see.
Yeah,
This is
we'll
right now.
discuss. We'll discuss.
I'll go with
Interesting.
in no order.
Mhm.
I don't know why guys are sleeping on Newcastle.
Yeah.
I
I think I wanted to say Newcastle over Tottenham, but it's okay.
United,
Yeah.
City, and Arsenal.
So wait, just say that again. You're supposed to name 4 teams.
I just did.
He said-
Newcastle.
the same top four this year.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Newcastle.
Newcastle, United, City and Arsenal.
Okay, in no particular order.
No, in no particular order. Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
You have no faith in Arsenal?
No, no, it's not I don't have faith. I do have faith,
okay.
but I'm answering the
It's
question
not a
as it was
requirement.
posed.
It's not a
okay.
requirement.
It's what
to answer
Mika
that.
asked.
Let me tell you something, Ali, that will make you happy. Arsenal can win the league. But you don't have a striker, so you will not win the league because of that.
That's what Man City struggled with when it came to the
Now,
Champions
If,
League.
if you get a striker who can score 25 goals, you will win the league.
Ivan Toney.
So here's the thing.
And by the way, is Kaiser Soze a soccer fan?
No,
He's muted.
No,
Okay, sorry.
no. I think.
But
I think
his body language.
No, I think Kaiser can buy jerseys for
Yeah.
the team.
Oh, he
but-
can.
Yeah,
He can
No,
sponsor.
He can
no,
sponsor
but here's the
jerseys.
thing. Answering Mika's question, the reason why, okay, maybe not going to the reasons why Arsenal are going to win, but the reason why we did not win last season, we lost a season when Saliba got hurt. You know, we lacked depth behind there, and that's when goals started coming in. So we did not have, like that Haaland type of striker, but we were able still to come to a point
You know
where
what?
we were about to win
You
the
know
season.
what?
So our defense actually
So-
is what lost the season for us in the last couple of weeks.
And that's why Man
Do
City
you
is
know
so
what?
dominant.
Do you know what? Do you know what? There are games whereby Man City were losing 3-0, but due to Haaland, they will win 4-0 or draw 3-3. Right? You remember that Newcastle game we watched at Omosh's house.
Yes,
Right?
I remember. Yes.
So that is what won them the league. Right? Man City has a way better defense than yours.
Yes.
Way better defense than yours.
And depth.
No lie.
But what won them the league was their striker. So those games that they were losing 3-0, 2-0, and they will come from behind, and that striker, that robot of theirs, scores a hat trick, 4 goals.
He sure is a robot.
That is
Alright.
what won them the league. So
Okay. All right.
again, without a striker to win, you see those games you are drawing like Palace, West Ham. Those games you drew that time when Saliba was not there.
We beat Palace.
If you are,
we drew with
do you
West
know
Ham
how
and
many
Liverpool.
how many times how many chances you missed in those games?
Very
Because
many.
those games you are not dominated. You are dominating those teams,
Yes.
but you're just not finishing them off.
We lost the league when
Those
we
teams
tied
off, you lost the league because
No,
of that. You didn't have
Liver-
a striker to finish off the teams for you.
Liverpool. The tie at Liverpool and the tie with West Ham.
Yeah, and that's why I'm telling
Those
Mika. That's it, and it's okay to disagree, Mika.
Oh, and Southampton.
Yeah, and it's okay
But-
to disagree, Mika.
But that's fine. That's last season.
But
we need to
win,
wrap it up.
But to win the season, I don't think we necessarily need a Haaland. Arteta has a way of working this system that he has, whereby we don't have a specific player who the team goes for in scoring.
Right.
And Mika, it's okay to disagree. So let's wrap this up and get
back to Kaiser.
Get
and,
back to Kaiser, who's been
and talk
entertained
about-
to the most soccer he's been entertained on in a very long
In a
time.
long time.
And
Oh
to
no,
sign
but
off,
maybe he
though,
was watching the
we
Reggae
have to
Girls.
sign. We have to sign off.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that. Okay, go ahead.
All right, this is Mutegeki on the mic, signing out.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Mutegeki.
This guy, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So before we go back to Kaiser, there's a few comments that are coming in, during the sports segment, and let me see. There was
England Walale. I think there are many pertaining to.
no, I'm talking about YouTube. There's
Oh, YouTube. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
the saying, there's Eobard Thorn says, I'm starting up now near. I think I will move within the next 5 years, but I will go to Tanzania. So we have someone here who loves Tanzania. I don't know whether it was because of Neyman or the way he presented the sports segment. Now he wants to move to Tanzania.
And the
Or
jersey
maybe
was
this is
wearing-
something, and maybe the jersey. But now we have someone here who wants to move to Tanzania. And that's a good thing. There's 54 countries to choose from.
Options are
so
good.
wherever someone's spirit tells them to go,
Yes.
that's where it fits you. And he says, but if I will go to Tanzania next year for my birthday to see what it's like. So he hasn't gone there. So this is not a sure shot.
But he's been to Kenya.
Yeah, this is not a sure shot, So he's been to Kenya.
See,
but
sure
not
bet.
been- yeah, Tanzania or Kenya is where I want to live. Okay, so that's good. And then Nia says, I hope you enjoy Tanzania. It's also beautiful and a wonderful country. And remember, there are 54 countries to check out to find your true fit and complete comfort in. I love that. And then Yobad Thorn is asking Ali, I would love to hear some tips on improving my Swahili. I talk and read every day with my friends from Tanzania. I used to study with my Kenyan friends, but they would always laugh at me. Wow. Yobad, I don't know.
We discussed that last week.
about
last
that.
week's
That's about
episode.
last week.
Yobad, if you never watched last week's episode, please go back to that episode.
But
watch
keep on
it.
keeping on.
Yeah, and it's interesting, after we spoke to Annette last week, and she said that a couple of people, who I communicate with who are learning Swahili told me the same thing. It's very difficult to work with Kenyans because Kenyans will laugh at you at the smallest mistake. And I think that's an Achilles heel that I think we need to overcome.
I was checked on last week. I've been checking myself, but I think I was properly checked.
Yes, and
last week. So I think
You laughed
language.
at somebody?
No, like I'll be like,
Yeah.
But sometimes if it's banter, that's one thing. But if
Yeah.
somebody's trying, I'll be like, no,
correct.
this is how you say it, this is how you go about it, and you
Yeah.
encourage instead of laughing, you encourage.
Yeah,
And then like now, for
especially
example,
the-
like now with our kids,
Yeah,
like
the
if you're at a
kids.
function, let's say, and one of the kids is told, say a prayer, the laughter is encouragement, like, oh, keep up the good work,
Yeah, kuna ile
whatever.
kucheka
Kuna ile kucheka,
Like
nice,
ile-
nice. At least umejaribu.
Yeah.
But I think also it can be misconstrued as you're making fun of me.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying that I was checked. So I'll more or less like encourage
Yeah.
than laugh. Like, yo, that's a good job. Keep up. Keep on pronouncing and whatever.
Yeah,
But just keep on.
But
whoever that
Ton,
is.
I encourage you. I always tell people who are learning the language, we are very good at reading and writing. Speak, be comfortable with making mistakes.
Yes.
Think like a child. Go back to your childhood. Think like a child. Do not fear to make mistakes because these mistakes is what's going to build your vocabulary. If you're not making mistakes, that means that there's something wrong that you're doing. If this is a new language, you're going to make, even those of us who, have been speaking the language all our lives, we still make mistakes, every now and then. Even when we speak English, we like pretending that we know so much English, but we speak English and we make mistakes all the time. So be confident with your mistakes.
100%.
Be confident with your mistakes because when you make a mistake is when you'll retain something. When you get, now the proper way of saying it or the alternative way of saying it or the correction. So just be confident. Speaking is the most important skill. Yes, there's reading, writing, listening. Listening is the easiest thing to do. Do not worry if you don't understand what's being said, but just get your ear used to that sound. The more you listen to it, the more familiar it becomes, and one day you will understand. Maybe you'll understand 2%. At some point, you'll notice that you're understanding 3%, then you're understanding 5%. And another thing, find what you love. If you love music, there's a lot of Swahili musical content online. If you love sports, there's a lot of Swahili sports content online, especially Azam TV in Tanzania. They
BBC,
have a lot of
Swahili.
sports commentary. If you love the news, there's a lot of news content in Swahili. From BBC Swahili, Deutsche Welle, there's even Radio China, there's Radio France International. There's so many channels, there's Citizen TV in Kenya who actually do very well
With Swahili. I
with
think
the Swahili.
that's why I would encourage that
Yes.
person to go, like, to learn.
Yes, if
the
you're learning
proper
about
Swahili,
Kenya. Yeah.
Kenya, but even Swahili in general, like you listen to like those Swahili content, like
Yeah.
in terms of news, because now that's where, in as much as it may be difficult, but progressively your vocab.
But like Citizen TV, they use, they use very good Swahili, but Swahili that's easy to follow and understand. And I really love, earlier this week, they had this thing called the Big Conversation. They usually have that once in a while when there's a big thing, when they're talking about this scandal in Uasin Gishu and education generally in Kenya. So what I like about what they're doing about that Big Conversation, and that's an innovation that I like with Citizen, they have all their top anchors both in English and Kiswahili, and they're doing it in both languages. Now here's an interesting thing that I've come to learn about the people who laugh at others. These are the people who, when you now sit and engage them, you'll also find they're not very fluid.
Gotire.
Yes, in the language.
Sawa.
So to me it was a bit embarrassing, like when there was the English anchors and then the Kiswahili anchors. The Kiswahili anchors would use very simple Kiswahili, but then now when some of these people would come in to speak, they're speaking to a Kiswahili anchor and then they decide, apana, wacha nionge Kizungu. And this is a certain fear that I have seen Kenyans have when you're talking to someone from Coast in Kiswahili,
Correct.
or when you're
Yes.
talking to a Tanzanian.
Because you're embarrassed.
So those people,
you don't want to mess it up.
But now these are the same people who are laughing.
Kaende.
These are the same people who are laughing at the people who are
I
learning.
didn't laugh at that guy of Azam, the presenter. What's his name? When he was here.
You're talking about Charles Hillary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean.
No, but I'm saying, you know, like the people who like laughing at the youngins who are learning.
Correct.
Are the ones when they're put in a position,
it's intimidating.
not even forced to use a particular kind of Swahili, but you know, but they cow down. So Thorn, just don't worry. Just keep listening and find people to speak with. Just speak, make mistakes, and you'll just make 1% improvement. Another quick thing to all English speakers. English speakers sometimes, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but English speakers sometimes tend to be not very easy to learn other languages because there's a lot of tendency to think in English. I'll always advise you, do not think in English. Do not look to translate word by word. Do not translate word by word because it's just not gonna make
It won't make the cut.
it's not gonna make sense.
Yeah.
You know, look at phrases and try to understand those phrases.
Comments, boss.
Yeah, and try to understand the phrases. Yes, Mika tunaendelea na comments. We try to understand the phrases, and that's the way in which you're gonna improve. And then Nia Generational says the young sports host is doing a great job with soccer football analysis. Keep encouraging him on my crew. All right, that's from Nia Generational. And then Nia says also, thank you for giving me airtime. Kenyan living abroad says, hello, this is Africa. Great to see you here. And then Yobaton says, I feel like Tanzanians are more nice when it comes to learning Swahili, and I don't mind laughing, but I had Kenyans say, why are you even trying to learn? You're old. Seriously. So this is interesting.
Wow.
I've gotten this from two other people who are learning Kiswahili. So that says something. That's a blind spot that I think, you know, that a lot of Kenyans have, you know. And I think for Kenyans it's because we love dark humor. You know, the kind of humor that demeans we love that.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a coping mechanism sometimes we use when there's a lot of you know, like crazy things going on. So I think that's something that that I think we need to be situationally aware of. We need to be cognizant
100%.
of. Yeah, we need to be cognizant of. So hopefully we are gonna do better as Kenyans. And then a lot of comments here coming za soka. Mike, soma hizo comments za soka, and then we're gonna go back to Kaiser.
Yeah, Filarum over here says, karibu sana, by the way. England hadi walale. I agree. European League for women has really improved. Stephen JJ pertaining to Mika's and Neyman's sports segment. Colombia, I think Filarum chose Colombia to win it all, I'm guessing. England win. England versus Sweden final. Manu hater, whoever that is. Sambaza has Newcastle, City, United, and Arsenal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please don't forget, Lamar is going for the ring. That's right, baby. All day, every day.
Okay.
Baltimore Ravens. Newcastle will surprise. Arsenal, Sioni, too much pressure. Shut up, Stephen JJ. Sorry. And Arsenal winning in the same sentence. Boss, calm down, Filarum.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna go back and of course I'm gonna remind the listeners that we're gonna be talking about the brawl at the riverfront.
Yes.
In Alabama. So don't forget about that. But real quick, I want to remind the listeners again that you're tuned into the One Mic Show, and I'm your co-host Ali Badawi. You know, we're earlier talking to our guest tonight, Kaiser Soze, aka the Afro Jamaican. Now, Afro Jamaican is a Jamaican who lives in Canada but dreams of calling Kenya home. He has filed a petition requesting the East African community to grant rights of residency or abode to descendants of enslaved Africans. Now, the petition is pinned on the Facebook comment section of the live stream for those who want to see it and sign it. Afro Jamaican, you know, will still be here to talk to us about that brawl. But real quick, just going back to Jamaica, what does your average Jamaican think of when they think about a Kenyan, when they think of Kenya?
You know, if you ask me this, when I used to live in Jamaica, I'd have to answer, they don't know what you're talking about. But now that I've gotten older, and especially on Facebook, I meet a lot of Jamaicans who've actually been to Kenya. So the average Jamaican, I don't know. I don't know what they would think of Kenya, but the ones who are looking outward, the conscious ones, I would say, is motherland home.
Wow.
Okay, all right. So that's quite interesting. Knowing like the likes of the artists who love Kenya, the Morgan Heritages, the Alains, and also when we come back to Kenya, there's that very big reggae culture. Dancehall music was also very big in Kenya.
That is the
Yeah.
Yes.
that is the big driving force.
Yeah, I remember, when I was, I think I was 10 or 11, there was that album that Shabaranks did, an album that an 11-year-old should not be listening to. But it was amazing, ting-a-ling-a-ling.
School bell ring.
Yeah.
Poyoka
Then there was that other song called XXX Bully. Yeah.
Oh yes. I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
So I mean, sorry, mom, if you're listening, but those were albums that an 11-year-old should not have been listening to. But
And
then
is she the one who bought them for you?
definitely not music. Hey, me, you don't know my mother.
In the words of my mother, let me say it in Kikuyu, then I'll translate. Nyimbo cia daimono. Nyimbo za shetani.
No,
the demon.
At that point, I was listening to.
Malakul Maut.
I had that Shabaranks album, and then that's the same time the Chronic. Dr. Dre was being. That's another album. No 11-year-old should have been listening to, but it's a past.
But
yeah.
cool kids will get those ones. But carry on.
But it's a past. So that's very interesting because that Jamaican culture is very big in Kenya. Now, when you listen to Kenyans speak negatively on issues happening back home, I think you even heard it like right here on the comments,
And
even right here on the show.
And he has commented.
You've been hearing this. But what comes to your mind, or what is it that you feel Kenyans take for granted about our country, Afro Jamaican?
There's a certain freedom that I think Kenyans have that they don't realize. You can build your house the way you want. You can park your car where you want. I got a ticket for $90 for parking on my lawn, my own grass, my own property. $90 ticket.
$90.
Yes, $90.
Is that because that's something in the city?
The bylaw? You cannot park on the grass. So my tire just barely touched the lawn.
Oh, and you
get a
have
ticket.
those environmental or whatever they're called who walk around?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So and another thing Kenyans take for granted, the food.
Wow.
When I went to Kenya and came back, the food here just didn't do it anymore.
It didn't
It's
slap
never
right.
the same again.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
slap
it, did,
right,
it
right?
didn't slap right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I saw milk being kept on the counter. Here you have to put the milk in the fridge.
Correct.
You have to put the eggs in
And
the fridge.
eggs. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that they take for granted. The weather, perfect weather, and
Yeah.
the opportunity to make money. But I do understand why some of them don't see that. Don't get me wrong. It's the same reason I left Jamaica. No, as an adult, I'm like, oh, I should have gone back to Jamaica after school. But some things, hindsight is 2020.
That's true.
So
yeah.
it's just we have to show them. We have to tell them. We have to also help create opportunities so they don't want to leave. Or if they leave, they just go on a vacation. Hey, I'm going to New York for vacation and come back. Because I'm telling you, as a person in this skin, don't take it for granted being in Africa. You will, no matter how you think you're going to live when you go abroad, being in Africa as that person, not being black, and I don't know if I'm going to explain this the right way. When you're in Africa, you're not black. And not that I don't love my blackness, but sometimes you want a break from it. And being in Kenya, I wasn't black. I was just a Jamaican.
Wow.
So they need to take that and understand, the privileges they have of being in that country, being in any black country.
Mike, Omosh Mika. I mean, like Afro Jamaican is not the first person who's saying this about Kenya.
No.
If he was the only one who was saying this, we would say, like, oh, he's too spiritually connected. He cannot say anything negative. But he's not the only one who's saying this about Kenya. So what exactly is it, like kuna kashetani gani, kametuingia, where there's this constant temptation? of to look down on Kenya? Uno Mike, let me start with you.
I think you probably even mentioned it earlier when we were talking, when we were referring to one of the comments, how, being told that you're too old to learn. The dark humor.
Yeah.
And
we're very good at that.
Yeah, and I think for us, we've become so desensitized at not looking at the glass as half full. It's what we don't have.
Okay.
And even the people who do have always have that mentality of I don't have. You know, when you find even somebody who's doing fairly well, they have a hardware store, they're driving, they'll be like,
Jaribu tu.
It's I don't know what exactly it is, but it is not. It's ideally not looking at your glass as half full.
Yeah.
You're looking at everything as half empty. I don't have this. I haven't gotten this. This is what I want. I can't get that. But sometimes you don't even take stock of already what you have. You don't, like if let's say you're not going to bed hungry. Mm-hmm. There are people who are going to bed hungry.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't take stock of that. You're like, no, I need to do this. I need to do this. And there's also that thing of I think keeping up with the Joneses. Trying to that mentality of like, I see Ali is doing this. He's flossing, socialite or whatever, and it is sort of enveloping us. So we look at this, we want this, and then. But when the rubber meets the road, you find that it is difficult or whatever. And even trying to earn decent. Sometimes you have enough money, but you're conning people.
I know,
right? So exactly what exactly that's what is I think that is our mentality that we need to break out of. We already we like he was saying, he's offering somebody land to go farm. How many people are going to offer you a land and ulime, go and do something?
Wow. Okay.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're like you take stock of that. But us over here, we're like, man, if somebody was given a chance at unapewa shamba kwenda kulima, some people would probably just go there and say, you know what, let me just go and manage my challenges.
People would rather go a whole day, go line up for WorldCoin. And get their iris taken a picture,
scanned or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, that is the thing, dark humor, but we are desensitized. It's like we've been programmed just to look at the Madhogodhanio.
Yeah.
The bullshit.
It's amplified. The negative is amplified
always,
too much.
Always.
Yeah.
Look at even like now, for example, like even media. If let's say, for example, we are trying to look at, let's say, Kipchoge Keino, good things. People don't want to, let's say, like when let's say, for example, Jimmy Wanjigi is talking about finance bill, trying to educate people. People would rather want to watch somebody was caught, with somebody or somebody's wife,
was caught with somebody's wife. Yes.
Exactly. People, thousands of those guys will tune into Mainaka Kenny's show in the morning.
Just go to the major media houses. Nowadays YouTube gives you an option to see the most popular videos.
Yes.
That tells you a story.
Exactly.
You'll be very surprised to see popular videos. You pastor caught with who?
Yeah. That is what is whatever
yes.
trending. But when you try to talk to somebody, like, you go, understand the finance bill, understand the content, and then, of course, the politicians, they really take advantage of this.
Yeah.
What do they start doing? They're like, hey, by the way, sijui kuna mama lishikwa. There was a guy, a lover who a woman in Mika land.
Yeah.
The lover came. The ex-husband of somebody that disappeared for 17 years, the boyfriend was kicked out.
And that's shown in the mainstream news.
That made the news.
Made the news.
You're kidding me?
Yeah.
So that is where we are.
Mika, why? I mean, like just listening to Kaiser here, Afro Jamaican. Why? And sometimes it's good to like dress ourselves down from someone outside. But why is it that in your, besides what Uno Mike has said, what do you think is it that's making us like have that temptation of amplifying the negative? It's in all aspects, entertainment, everything negative. It's gonna go around so fast.
It's I think it's something that's been inbred, that whatever we have, whatever is ours, is not good enough. It goes to even just like products, right? You'll find if there's sugar that's locally made and there's sugar that's imported, the imported sugar will go fast because people will assume it's of better quality.
Wow.
It's the same thing with music. It's the same thing with film, with TV. It's the same thing with sports, right? Like people think that even just foods right now, a lot of new restaurants that are popping up in Nairobi right now cook foreign foods. It's easier for you to get American food and all these other foods in Nairobi in these high-end restaurants than to get actually a high-end restaurant that's selling authentic Kenyan food. If I went to Bangalore, India right now, I will eat the best Indian food in street and in their five-star Michelin restaurants,
Wow.
but
Okay.
not in Kenya.
That's
You will not go
yeah.
to Kempinski in Kenya and eat pilau biryani in there. You'll eat an international cuisine.
100%.
That's
If I go the same thing. If I go to Italy, all those high-end restaurants will eat Italian food. I'll not eat foreign food.
I think Mika is gonna take us to Kempinski in December.
And you know, remember some years back we interviewed this
the travel lady?
no, that was it the travel lady?
Gishobi.
No, not Gishobi. There were these Indians that we interviewed. When we interviewed the crew from Georgetown,
Yes.
there was an Indian.
Yes.
And they told me something very interesting. You know, like they went and tried Swahili Village here. You know, it was a couple. They tried Swahili Village here.
Yes, I do remember them.
And then when they went to Kenya, because they had that taste of Swahili Village food, and these are Indians, people who come from the land of very good food.
Yes.
They really enjoyed Kenyan food. So when they were going to Kenya, they were expecting there'll just be Swahili villages everywhere. But they were so surprised that when they got there, that most of the restaurants they got in were serving, you know, like Western cuisines, you know, vitu kama burgers and I don't know, spaghetti, you know, like stuff that
Pizza.
Yes, pizza.
Yeah,
and they were very surprised.
Fries,
That's
chips.
that I think
Well,
is
chips is staple in Kenya.
that's a sector that if someone who wants to disrupt the restaurant industry, because you can already see the few restaurants that serve Kenyan food, like Mama Oliech, and then there's the other one, Kuna Mpambe. Mpambe is not a high end restaurant, but if someone just invests in high end restaurants that serve Kenyan food, that will be a big break because so many people want that food, but they can't find it in high-end restaurants.
Like Mika said, we are quick to dismiss ourselves, our own.
Yeah,
And it takes
like you see,
a foreigner to tell us, somebody outside to tell us what to see. Mika.
oh no, you see, like when the example of saying that somebody can be given land to go and till that land and survive is that in our mentality, we have turned that if you till land, you're living in poverty.
Yes,
That's another thing.
You're not. So it's being taken as a wrong thing. We're not looking at it in this way. When people live in Nairobi or Kendo Shago, they come back with food, a lot of food.
A lot.
Right? From the poverty people, from the poor people.
but they have a lot of food.
Give you enough food to cover for nearly half a year of your budget. So you in your upscale lifestyle, look, you're being fed by these poor people. So we don't look at the value of things. We don't look at the value of family. We don't look at the value of that food that you took from Shago has managed to allow you to save a certain amount of money for you to live in a certain lifestyle. If you will have spent that money on food on the Nairobi budget, you would have suffered. You would not have been living where you're living. So we have to get to a point whereby we are proud of ourselves. You see, the way people are proud when the way we get proud when we come out of here and then we look at life here, then we realize that what we really didn't value is so valuable right now.
Correct.
You see, in
100%.
America, they value their parks, they value their trees, they value their animals, they protect their things with such passion that we don't have. If we did that and we put value for it, it even makes other people who are from outside look at it with a more valuable eye than just us look at it badly. As Ali said, it's very easy for people to talk about a bad Kenyan musician performing than it is easy for them to talk about how good that Kenyan musician performs somewhere.
Absolutely.
It's conditioning.
Yeah.
It's conditioning, you know.
Yeah.
Conditioning.
And it's funny. I think it starts from school. It starts from when the kids are in school. I think they're taught not to value themselves. And it's not just Kenya. I see this in a lot of African countries. I see this in a lot of Caribbean countries. We're taught not to value ourselves, or anything that was truly ours is bad.
That
You know
sounds
what I
like
mean?
it goes back
So
to colonialism.
yeah, it really does go back to colonialism. Colonialism, absolutely. There's a guy in Nigeria that makes beautiful cars, Innocent Motors, beautiful cars. I don't see anybody driving them. So my thing is, when I come to Kenya, whatever I'm driving has to be an African-made car. It has to be, because that's where I'm gonna find a value and put value on that myself. I'm running away from somewhere that supposedly has everything. Why? I want a simple life where I value the people and the cultures that resemble mine. Because for me, that is a value. Life in Kenya is a value. Life in Jamaica, life in Ghana, that lifestyle, that culture to me is a value. But they're growing up watching programs from the West that really don't show anything positive about their countries. And then local media also plays a part. If something bad happens, it's everywhere. And you can never get a good story. So it's conditioning, and we need to, I mean, for those of us who have kids, we need to work on our kids. So hopefully the next generation is going to be a bit different, and it keeps growing progressively.
I'm waiting to hear on what Omosh has to.
Yeah,
before
I
I
know.
read the comments.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
some comments here that
Number
are
of
very
comments here,
true,
but let's hear from Omosh first on this.
On what? On the value system?
No, just on the negativity, like that tends to go viral very fast.
You guys hit the nail on the head. It's conditional, and at some point, I guess the now generation need to unlock that, the way we are bound. At some point you have to pull yourself away from those bad learned behaviors and set up new things. And especially if you're thinking of the next generation, like Julia said, the kids. You're trying to set up an example for the kids. And I'm sure somewhere in all of this, when he thinks about moving away from Canada and going to Africa, Kenya specifically, you're thinking of how do I want to have my children raised? Where do I want them to grow up? Who do I want them to be around? What type of influences do I want them to have? Do I want them to have Karen and her likes? Or do I want them to have, Mwangi, James, the black,
People who look like them.
people who look like them, who identify with them, and nobody's, is looking at their name and saying, you have a funny name, Nyerere. What? How do you
You have a
pronounce
funny accent.
Nyararurwa? That's not even an issue, because nobody's looking at that in Kenya. In fact, you have blended in. Maybe the brown name might be the one that they'll be like, okay, well, brown is, but anyway, you know what I'm saying? So the value system needs to change, and we, the generation who can hold the hands of the next upcoming, need to change it.
Okay.
100%.
100%.
Narrative needs to change.
Yeah. Now, so many comments coming here on YouTube. YouTube has been buzzing today. Facebook typically is the one that's buzzing.
I think thanks to Afro Jamaican.
Yeah, thanks to Afro Jamaican.
Them people coming through.
I think near generation has written like 6 books.
Okay, all right.
About to Talawa.
And we love that. We love that. So Eobard says, how do I donate? I don't know exactly, what that means, but that could mean so many things.
Yeah.
That could mean so many things.
I can give Earbud my Cash App. I can give Earbud my Zelle. I can give Earbud. Which one do you want?
Yeah, but Earbud, don't worry. Very soon we are gonna set up systems. A lot of people have asked us, how they can support, because of course it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort to prepare these shows. A lot of people have asked us that. We want to do it in the right way. See ati nitumie Cash App hapo kando, like what Omosh is trying to do. Want to do this in the right way.
Do you want chicken or not?
Okay. So I take back what I said. But we're gonna set up the right way of doing this.
Omosh, me, I didn't say anything. Chicken it is.
like that guy from Canada will say rascal.
Yeah, and for those who maybe wanna support, contribute, or because I'll be honest with you, we have not made a single dollar since we started doing the One Mic Show.
True that.
But we're looking to change that so that we can bring you better quality and more consistency and just things that have also good value.
Yeah.
And that sometimes requires us dipping into our pockets. So we will communicate that in good time.
Once the processes are set up.
Once the process is
That's
set
for
up.
sure.
So just keep your dollars, keep accumulating them. Like when that process is ready, we'll let you know, and we appreciate any kind of support that we're going to get from you. Near Generational says, Kenyans take for granted the beauty around them, the fact that they are truly family. Tribalism is a farce. They are brethren. They have rich heritages, and they are warm people deep down. And it's very interesting. All the visitors who come to Kenya, that's one thing they always say, like everybody is always
They're
happy
welcomed,
to
yes.
talk. Like the way here when you're stranded, sometimes you're even scared of, you don't even know who to ask.
Man, those brick
Yeah.
faces that you look at, you're like,
Yeah, but in Kenya, you'll find
nope.
people, they'll give you so many details, and they'll even ask you, like how your day has been.
And some people can even walk you to
Yes.
wherever you're going. I mean, there's always bad players, but most times warm and giving, and even the tribalism is a farce thing that Nia said over here.
Yeah.
The only time normally that we run into tribalism is when there's a political
Is
season.
politics, yeah.
That's
But
it.
outside-
Electioneering season.
outside
That's
of
it.
That's not our
it's not
our
regular-
default setting.
No, it's not our default setting
Yeah.
because we live and breathe with different tribes.
Yeah.
And in a lot of neighborhoods, nobody knows what tribe
Nobody
the
knows,
kids
yeah.
are. And the kids run into everybody's house. You
But
go
we
from
have
house
allowed-
to house to
We have allowed those politicians.
We've allowed
Correct.
politics to do
Correct.
this.
Correct.
And that's it.
Yeah,
That's the only thing.
I have a quick question on politics for Kaiser Soze as we wrap up. I'm gonna put him on the spot, so let him prepare himself. But Leslie here says, I also would imagine Kenyans have less focus on material things. The West is drowning in having too much stuff. That's very true. And then he says, also per the show a couple of weeks ago, Kenyans should appreciate less reliance on credit. I mean, right now, I think that credit thing is ticking up, and we have to be very, very careful about it because we've seen what credit can do.
Over
it has
here.
its good side.
Over here, we've seen what it can
but
do,
there's a
yeah.
very ugly side of credit that sometimes
bank-
people don't know.
Which bank in Kenya is chopping 19% on
On interest.
It was something that was posted.
Yeah.
This bank.
Man.
No, there was a bank. I can't remember what bank it was, but there are banks now that are giving loans at 19% interest rate.
19%. They started it today. Damn,
Yeah.
you're right, man.
Sa
I'll
unajua,
get it.
unajua ndo zuri yetu sisi Waislamu tunaambua riba achana nayo, stay away from it. So these are some of
I'll join a Muslim bank.
yes.
Sorry.
So anyway, we have let me see. Near Generational says, who is WorldCoin? I think I vaguely had a craze about that. I don't even know where to start, but just Near Generational, just Google WorldCoin Kenya, and you're gonna see some crazy things. There was this company that was giving Kenyans 7,000 to take biometrics of the iris. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but that was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, man.
And so many people showed up.
Stanbic.
Yeah.
Stanbic, yes.
Stanbic.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
19% for interest rate on riskiest borrowers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Near Generational says, some of my favorites are Swahili food, Kikuyu food. I miss chapati, nadengu, pilau, and irio. Very good. Very nice.
She's in Ohio. Maybe she just needs to close her eyes and drive to Newark.
drive to Maryland.
She can drive. Yeah, you're right.
No, I
actually,
think
yeah.
Maryland is almost the same distance.
Yeah, she can come. Yeah, she can come. Come
I
down.
think Maryland is closer than Newark.
come to Maryland, the Swahili village, or I'm sure we can arrange to cook for you that food.
In fact, not
there's
even
Swahili villages, not Swahili
No,
villages.
but that's-
Actually, there's I think it's a near restaurant in Columbus.
In Ohio, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
interesting.
Ali, do some research.
I'll do research
I was
on
gonna
that.
suggest if she's in Ohio, I mean, and she's she's 6
Wabongo
hours away.
huko
She can
huko.
come over here, do the show live in person.
Oh, yeah.
instead
And
of
she'll
Zoom,
get her
and
pilau.
then- And then she'll get pilau.
And then she'll get pilau. 5
Yes.
hours too.
Yeah, and the
Simbali.
pilau is going to be on Ali. I mean, what are we saying? What else? Yeah.
Nadhabuda.
Okay, pilau nas.
Kwanza ile akina Ali ni original.
Pilau, but sambusa, not the, what did you say?
Dhabuda.
Not the Buddha, sambusa.
Don't be like those guys laughing at me at my dhabuda.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm just, it was an old joke I was thinking of. I wasn't laughing
Dark
at you.
humor, nonsense.
Yeah, okay. And then Nia also says she loves matoke. And she says that the
Wow.
colonial
Curriculum.
curriculum
Yes.
needs to be removed. We need to write our own history for the future. Colonial curriculum is also why we don't know or understand each other as black people. That's a very powerful point. Nia, we need you here. Now we even need you physically, not even on Zoom. We are only 5-6 hours away. I think you can make that trip.
Cheza kama wewe.
Yeah, and then she's thanking Omosh for explaining WorldCoin. That sounds nefarious. This is crazy. So yeah, so quite a number of comments coming up here now as we wrap up before we get to the brawl in Alabama, because I know a lot of people want to tell us their favorite characters. Real quick, Kaiser, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Is there any one Kenyan political leader that you admire, all the way up from the president down to governors or senators or MPs or even MCAs?
Or the MCA where you bought your land.
Anyone, like one. I'm not even asking you to mention 2 or 3, but if you have 2 or 3, you can mention all of them. But just mention and tell us why
And
you love them.
if the colors they like wearing are blue, that's also preferred for.
No. It has nothing to do with color. Just because I don't remember her last name. First name is Susan. She's the governor of Nakuru.
Kihika.
Nakuru County.
Yeah.
And she's very accessible. I email, she responds.
What?
I have yes.
I think that's Susan Kihika.
Yes.
She's
Yes.
from Dallas originally.
Yes.
Yeah,
is
she's from Dallas. Yeah.
She's from the States.
Diaspora,
yes.
yeah.
You email her, she responds. She's very accessible. Because believe me, I'm waiting on some emails. Even I don't even want to go down that road. Even some of the county governments, their info email don't work. But that's another story.
Or the info at XXX. Okay.
Remember Slay decided to put herself to help you do some research? Slay Odor.
So yes, the governor of Nakuru, I find her very accessible, and she signed a petition and she's willing to help.
The petition, your petition to repatriate enslaved people back to East Africa.
That is correct.
Okay,
that is
all right.
correct.
Okay,
Wow.
okay, that's
that's a lot.
yeah.
And I wrote a very long letter, and she promised me she delivered it to the president, so he's aware. I believe her. He is aware.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Go to his Twitter handle and tag him.
So Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika, if you're tuned in, there's a Jamaican who lives in Canada who wants to call Kenya home and says you are a very good leader. So yeah. So sometimes it's nice to even say nice things about politicians, because sometimes there's nothing nice to say about them. But give credit where it's due.
Simple thing as being accessible.
Yes. Being
Just
accessible.
simply answering an email.
Very simple.
It's like you're not expected to answer it.
Yeah. Very, very simple.
Wow.
Is there any other politician you want to mention, or that's it for today?
I think that's it.
Or you don't want to get the ire or people of this side or that side?
No, I will keep out of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going down that road, so I will leave that alone.
It's okay. We see what color is that you're wearing?
I'm wearing the color of the Jamaican flag.
Those are Jamaican colors. Yeah.
No.
Jamaican
But
flag.
that color that's dominant there, it looks bluish. Or is that the
there's
computer?
no blue, man. There's no blue.
I think you see. Look at his glasses. You see? Yeah.
And then Phil, I think, is responding to what Nia said on her love of Kikuyu food. He says, huyu na Kikuyu food haja mention supu. And then Moots karibu sana to the One Mic Show. Philarum, you mean dhufu. And then Phil adds waru. Okay, all right. Now
Wow.
these are all what I like about Kenyan cuisine is that it is so diverse. One of my bosses today at work was asking me because I carry food to work, so sometimes I see this Kenyan food. So she was asking
And
me,
the smell, right? The different flavor, right?
the aroma. So she was asking me, you guys eat Kenyan food in your household every day? And I was like, I'd not thought about it, but actually, yes. Yeah. Yes.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. I mean, and that's something that maybe did not even come to my mind. But I came to realize, a lot of other cultures where maybe, I don't know that's a food that they don't like, but you always find them, trying to Westernize also on their cuisine. They want to eat spaghetti, pizza, lasagna, like all that stuff. But with Kenyans, one thing that we love is our food.
Chapo.
And we love it so jealously.
Yep.
Shavashi. Mandazi.
Mm-hmm.
Eh?
Eh?
Mushere ya nyama.
No,
Eh?
you mean wali.
That one.
Okay.
Mokimo.
Uh-huh.
Gatheri.
Okay.
Gatheri kwanza unaweka kona waru.
No, I know the cuisine is so diverse.
This guy went to boarding school.
And especially even when you go when you go to the north, ukichomewa
There is
nyama
no
na
food.
Kwenda huko.
ukichomewa nyama na hawa tu wa north wa Samburu, this Mark
I hear
community.
those guys.
Yes.
Man,
Nyamchom utaogopa.
They do
at a
nyam
different
chom.
level.
Oof.
Yes.
Wachana na hizi zinaitwaje filet mignon. And
Filet mignon.
Yeah,
And how's the voice?
Ribeye.
Ribeye.
Oh, ribeye.
And how's the voice?
okay.
And
Yeah.
how's the voice?
How's the voice?
Yeah. How's the voice?
Yeah, those
Hors
ones are tutambui.
Ate what?
Hors d'oeuvres.
How's the voice?
Eh? Those ones are tutambui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay, all right. Now, like as we wrap up, this has been a very amazing show. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kaiser.
you so much, Kaiser.
But
man.
before we let you go, there was an ugly brawl that went down at the riverfront in Montgomery, Alabama, over the docking of a boat. Why do you think black people instantly loved and cheered this moment despite the ugly violence that was on display?
There was no ugly violence.
I think normally we would just stand and watch. I don't think we would normally take up for each other like that. And so I think that's why people, for them, it's a bit refreshing because total strangers went to his aid. Normally you would just stand and watch it happen to that person. But no, people decide it's not going to happen, at least not today. And, people joined in.
And you know what's interesting? There was already a presence of law enforcement there.
Yeah.
Because now there's other videos that are coming out from different angles, and you realize, like the video we all saw initially was the lady who was giving a blow by blow, right? But there was another video, it was like somebody was taking a video almost like same spot where she was like, but behind her, and you realize there's law enforcement who actually somehow were blocking folks from descending down the ramp and keeping them away from the tugboat or the cruise ship, whatever it was that had come in, right? And immediately those guys docked, they jumped off and they went to, the ones who were wearing the blue.
Yeah.
They went to help this guy.
They were like on a reunion, I think, of some sort. The guys who are dressed in blue.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
they were like,
yeah.
I think it was like an old high school. That's what people were saying.
They went immediately, and I was like, wow. But when you see how things are going down and the different angles, and he's right. We normally will sit back. People don't jump in. Like that guy who picked up the chair, I think that guy, he's all his frustration.
Yeah.
Maybe he had just retired and he was,
and maybe he's lived through that era when there was,
correct.
So it's like, no, this is enough.
It's Bama. This is South. These guys have gone through some crap.
And those guys knew they were risking jail time.
Correct.
By doing that. They actively knew that.
Man, he didn't want to know. And in fact, I felt the pain of the woman who was hit with the chair, but I was like, man.
But I think it's to me, I think there's an entitlement aspect that white people have. But they don't know. Because, for example, a guy is doing his jobo. You're being told, move your boat.
Please,
whatever
move
it is,
your boat.
move, because it's you're not supposed to.
Yeah,
and you can see even when the confrontation starts, like, even from the signaling, you're supposed to move this thing. And he even actually did them a favor and moved it for them. Then they caught feelings. Whatever happened, whatever transpired, whatever the conversation was, we don't know. But it's a sense of entitlement. You're being told, move the boat because you cannot park here because there's something else or whatever it is, right? But they did not. He moved it, and then the boat left or whatever, the other one left or whatever. Then they came and they started causing. And they started causing, probably even talking down at him just because they have a boat.
Yeah.
Right? So, and what they expected that, and they're probably used, because listen, this is something that probably they've done before.
And
because think about it, because they're not just going to start all of a sudden like, you know, today I'm just gonna park the boat or whatever. Ni kitu umezoea, unaenda unapark, how many of our politicians have we seen taking the wrong side of the road?
But you see, to me, the entitlement, okay, maybe they might have that entitlement to wanna, you know, like do this and bully other people. But to me, that entitlement goes to a point where you are so confident that, you know, if I hit this person, he's not going to do anything.
Happened.
That's exactly. So
nothing is
the
happening.
expectation is that
And then
I'll
Ali.
still, hold on, Mick. The expectation is always, I can do this, I'll get away with it. These guys are not going to do anything. In fact, they've ammired the guy. How many? 3 or 4 guys?
Yeah, there were
3 or 4
multiple guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plus
So
the
it's,
chicks.
so it's not at the, for me, I believe it's not that, you know, it was instinctive. They probably have done this before.
Wow.
It's only that it's never been documented.
You
Yeah,
know,
Mika.
you know when I said I was very happy when I saw this video, because no, I was very happy because I was very happy for the first time that actually other black people fought back, right? And to me, this reminded me of Ahmad Bowery. It reminded me of that young kid who decided to take an AK-47 and go and shoot protesters because those people who committed those crimes and who killed those people knew they were white and they could get away with what they did. It goes back to George Floyd, right? How many times have we seen that woman in Florida who's shot the black mother at the park? That old man who shot that kid in Missouri
Yes.
on the face, right? They do this because they feel, and as America said, they feel an entitlement and they feel like they can get away with it. They feel that even if it went to court, they can beat the system. So there's that self-entitlement of I can get away with it because I'm white and I'm superior. And when that ass whooping came,
It was
it
liberation.
reminded them pretty well and brought them down back to earth.
Real
And I'm
quick,
glad
too.
even in Detroit, there's a black man who did the same. And I'm glad the other day in Atlanta, there's a woman who tried to mess with a certain nurse, and that nurse whooped her ass with a chair.
Mika, I saw that video.
Yeah. No, I know. I saw
Where
that.
she did a WWE on her.
She was about to. Yeah, she did, and then she was going to pick up the chair.
But there was a
Is that
guy
what
who
you
came
want?
in and stopped.
She picked the chair up.
Yeah.
She was going for it.
She was
then
going for it.
That guy pulled the lady away.
Was it a black guy or a white guy?
No, it was a white guy. It was a big white guy. He pulled that
Yeah.
lady quick.
I mean,
Had he not done that, that chair was going
and
down.
that guy is someone who knows something about fights, and he was like, you know, let me save this white lady before, you know, like things just go south here.
Because she had already kicked her smack dab in the chest. I was like, what?
And if you guys remember during the pandemic in Georgia, the white supremacists were doing a lot of marching and parading with guns.
Correct.
Until when the black NRA decided that, you know what, we can do the same.
We are also gonna have our guns.
with
Yes.
guns, and that shut them down completely. So the thing of cowards and bullies getting away because they know that the system protects them, that time is about to end. And I'm glad black people are fighting back and whooping us and stopping this discrimination, because they get to a point where the system is failing them. A black person will be killed, and the white guys will just get away with it and then laugh with it, and then the next thing they will make jokes about it. Right? You see people like Joe Rogan and all these Fox News people making jokes about black people who have killed in racist situations, and they get away with it. Trump is tweeting about it, his followers are tweeting about it, they're getting away. So what? Whoop their asses. Me, I was very happy. I actually wished I was there. I wished I was there.
Mika, I know if you were there, you'd probably be right in the middle of that boardwalk. You know, like taking part in 2 or 3 fights.
He would have been testing. He would have been flexing his Nikes on somebody's face.
Somebody said something that was interesting. I was listening. This guy. I think he's a professor in one of those Ivy League schools, and he said something that was very interesting that I never thought about. You know, there was the mention of, you know, these are not our you know, we are not our ancestors. But if we look back and we look at our ancestors, you know, like you know, there have been revolutions. They have fought.
Yes.
They have Nate Turner in them. They have done something, you know. And at that point in time when they were doing this, it was even far worse.
Yes.
Right? It was far worse. Right? But now it's getting to a point where that it's not that we're not our ancestors. We're like, you know what? And like Moots over here says, I think we are tired of watching us being killed while others watch.
Yes.
And I think the straw that broke the camel's back, whatever it was, led to the Montgomery brawl.
But you know, Leslie B here says, God bless Aquaman. I
By
think,
the way,
I think Aquaman motivated everyone else. When people saw that someone... Because
he's called Black Woman, not
Black Woman.
Black woman. And by the way, remember, there's this notion that black people can't swim.
Yes.
So
And you
this
know-
guy, he just swam across.
You know-
He came out, then he pulled up his pants like, hey, what up?
And I don't know whether it's true, but I heard he's a very young person.
He's a young kid.
Yeah,
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he's a very young
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
So what I like about that is that this was so instinctive. It wasn't like, oh, people contacted each other, or people are saying when that kofia was thrown up,
But that was a signal.
that was
Yeah,
a
yes,
smoke signal.
yes.
Assemble!
But I think, but I think, you know, like when he dove into the water, it was so instinctive. He was seeing injustice.
Four white guys
Because you
attacking
know,
one black guy
you're
for doing his
told
job.
when you're neutral in the face of injustice, you're on the side of the oppressors.
Very
so I
true.
think that was on his mind, and he didn't even think. He was like, I need to get there. So he jumped in the water, and I was like, man, this guy, did he just jump in the water?
And he swam.
And he swam.
He got out.
He got out and got onto the boardwalk and got in on the action. Then there were those, you know, like those two white privileged guys in prep boy shorts who came in to attack, and then a ring of, I think, four.
Black guys. They came skipping along.
Wow.
If you guys watch Roland Martin, you
Yes.
watch the video.
Yes, I watched Roland Martin's video.
So the guys were making fun that if you see four black guys coming and they start skipping,
Yeah.
it's about to be on.
No, there's a problem.
No, there's a problem.
Yeah.
What did those white guys? What did they start doing? They started walking away.
They started walking away,
it's like
but
they
no,
started hiding.
but it was an irreversible reaction at
was a
that
wrap.
point.
It was a wrap after that.
And then when you know this privilege is so high level, even women, I mean, you're getting into yourselves into a fight that has guys, and you want to throw in a kick, and you want to throw in,
a fight that you can get a punch and
yes, yes. So like even when the chair started flying, I'm like, okay.
And when the guy was being arrested, the guy of the chair, when they had him pinned down, the white mama was still coming like she wanted to kick him.
Yeah, I know. The cop had to push her.
He pushed her off.
And this was a black
cop had to push her.
Wasn't this a black
Yeah,
cop?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and those black cops. The black cops.
They were
it's
trying to
interesting.
restrain. You know, they were trying to refrain themselves. They were trying to really. They were like trying to walk away or look away, like this is not happening. It's not. And then the chair comes out, bam.
You know what?
First guy gets hit, then the mama gets hit. They're like, okay, look,
That
you know
Alabama riverfront is now on my bucket list. I wanna go visit that place.
what? So are you going with a chair or you're gonna?
That should be a shrine. They should enshrine a chair there.
We can do a road trip.
In Black history.
We can do a road trip.
Yes, I think that's a place that we need to go and just appreciate it.
Our blackness.
I just think that, and I hope that I'm you know what, I don't know, have we gotten Kaiser's Julius Nyerere's opinion on the brawl?
As a Canadian,
As a Canadian,
or
as a Afro-
or as a
Canadians
Kenyan?
are nice. They don't
as a
brawl.
Canadian
But
or
you
as
know-
a Kenyan.
But Jamaicans,
Oh, Jamaicans when it comes to brawling? No, yeah.
mad.
We'll throw down. We'll throw down. Now, as I said, we've been standing on the sidelines for a long time, and this was different. This people joined in, and because what usually happens in a situation, people just watch, and they would have beat the guy to death, and they would have gone to court, and they would have gotten off. I remember that police officer who went into the wrong apartment and shot the guy in his apartment.
Yes, in Texas.
Yeah,
That was in
Texas,
Texas,
right?
right?
Yeah.
It was in Dallas.
She got off.
Yeah, she got off.
So we need to understand that when we see one of us in trouble, it could lead to death. They could kill us.
It could be
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
The next person could
Thank
be
you.
me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how you have to look at it.
And I think that's what was on the mind of a lot of black people. I mean, that's Alabama. That's what was on the mind of a lot of black people there, that this could lead to death. We can't just stand and watch.
Easily led to if that guy was a small guy, because he was a big guy also.
He was a big
fought
guy.
Also. They didn't just whoop him. He fought too.
Yeah.
If he was just a
The-
small guy and they jumped him the way they did, they would
Yeah,
have killed
because
him.
it was 4 or 5 guys who came
Yeah.
on to him, you know,
Yeah.
and
Because
that,
they thought one guy was going to take care of it, and
Yeah.
then when they realized that
They
one guy
realized
was
no.
being pushed,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh no!" Then they came
the
in.
guy was getting whooped.
yeah.
The
And-
guy was getting whooped, so they came in with reinforcement. And
Kwanza,
that's
there's
what
one
I'm
who
saying,
came
man.
flying. There's one who came flying and jumped on him, and he could not even put him down. And then that's when now the reinforcements started slowly coming in, and they realized that things are getting ugly here.
It was pretty much Avengers.
Yes. Now, Near Generation says Alabama and Mississippi are the worst of the worst in racism, and this was almost like a pouring out of pent up relief and frustration
So,
in the states that are the worst. And then
I don't know if you
Yes.
guys heard that. Let me interrupt you, Dogo. I don't know
Sure.
if you guys heard that, but then I saw another video where they were saying that after that ass whooping, they went to the hospital. The hospital where they went, a lot of nurses were black, and they were still talking about nigga shit.
oh
And they
shit!
were asked either get treated or leave, and they left.
Wow. Okay.
So so they were saying that to show that it was not just something that they were mad.
Random.
It was racially, it was a racially motivated thing that they were just being racist. So for me, I actually think, like, and I hope it happens all over the country. Like, if somebody tries to attack you because they feel that their screen makes them superior, beat them up.
Simple. That's why Near Generation is saying Mika would have had a folding chair patented by a black man,
Two of
by the
them.
way.
Where folding chairs, the new open carry.
Yeah. And then says Near Generation says we have to start looking out for others as black folk. Other communities do it. We need to do it more.
We sure do.
Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Mika Arch stuck in traffic and stuff.
Unasikia, ladies and gentlemen, it is another wonderful show. Happy hours, happy hour. I want to thank Afro Jamaican. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for coming to this show. And it is refreshing to actually hear somebody saying how they love our homeland and they want to go back. And most of us actually have. I used to hear this, that you will appreciate Kenya once you leave Kenya. I never used to know to look
What
at
it
it
meant,
that way
yeah.
until I came out of the country, and then I've also started appreciating Kenya. And I do agree, there is room for diaspora in Kenya. There is room, and I think it's diaspora who are actually going to take that country to the next step.
Make a
Because
difference,
It needs to go both politically, socially, and everything. So there is room for that. So I want to say Afro Diaspora, thank you for what you're doing, and I hope you encourage more people to come back, and also us who have left Kenya and come here, build our life. As in, let's not forget about it. Let's think about home. Like, we can have both homes over here because we have another generation you're raising, but also let's raise that generation realizing that there is somewhere where they come from, and that place needs them too. So to all other listeners, just want to say, everybody, those who are enjoying the Premier League, sports are back. I hope remote handover in your homes was happened peacefully. Nobody beat each other. There is no chaos because of the TV. Enjoy your weekends, and remember, don't drink and drive. If you have to drive, if you have to drink, take an Uber. God bless you.
Wow. Thank you, Mika. We know that you and 95 are one, or 95 is you with one. Afro Jamaican, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much, gracing us with your presence, giving us your outlook on Kenya, the petition. Hopefully, you'll talk more about that and tell people where it is. I know we have it pinned to our Facebook page for folks to sign. And I would also venture to throw in my 16 cents on that and say, try to get more legislators to actually sign it, other than the governor. Like, I would use their social media handles, just like tag them, and if you need to reach out to us, you can work with us so we can get to do that. The value added should I say, the value that's going to be added to Kenya by bringing in these folks from the diaspora who are not taking but giving and helping is going to far outweigh anything else that somebody may cry about and talk about from an immigration perspective, yada, 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 because folks are not coming in empty-handed. They're coming in with something. They're bringing something to the table, and potential of hiring, probably, maybe 20 to 30 people per person. Just imagine if you had, 1,000 people who came in. Those are straight up, 30 times 1,000 jobs, that you've created. In a year, I don't think in Kenya we even create more than 100,000 jobs in a year, based upon the number of graduates we have. But, so with that said, I'm sure there's more to come on this. We'll hear more about it, and probably with the petition and how things are going for you. We have our research analyst, Slay, who has an AI out of this. Maybe we'll give her a deadline on the side. But thank you so much. And I can't say it enough. Thank you for telling Kenyans that it's okay to be Kenyan. Even those who are not Kenyan want to be Kenyan. Because some folks seem to forget their Kenyanness when they pull themselves out of the country. And for those who are at home, there's people who want to come there to live in Kenya and be Kenyan and deal with the crap, quote unquote, or things that are in Kenya, because together collectively we can do it. So with that said, peace. See you guys during the next show. And that's it for me.
All right. Do we go to Kaiser first?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Okay.
You, then
Okay.
Kaiser.
Or
Kaiser.
I think Kaiser should.
Well, thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much. You guys are my regular Friday night entertainment. I sit on my couch, I get a beer, and I watch you guys till 11 o'clock every Friday. My wife knows.
Wow.
Wow.
It's one mic time.
Yeah. Recruit
So I
her too.
appreciate that.
Recruit her too to the one mic.
Will do.
Yes.
Just want to remind everyone, we have a website. It's Credia.com, and our email address is repatriation@credia.com. Okay. And
Credia is CRDEA.
that is correct.
Okay.
CRDEA.
Okay.
.com. And from the website there at the very bottom of the page, it says there's a button that says take action. You push the button, takes you right to the petition.
Okay. Okay. I think we're also gonna post the website. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kaiser. It's very interesting. Before this show, sometimes we try to anticipate what we're gonna get out of it, but we always get surprises. And to us, we know when we get surprises, that's when we know, the show actually had a lot of value. We, for example, never knew that you were an opera singer. We would never have known that. Would never have known that. And these are the small stories that get people inspired to do certain things.
He might do a jingle for the One Mic Show.
Yeah, maybe he might just do a jingle.
Know.
Yeah, you never know. You might just do that
inbox.
jingle. Yeah, we welcome it. But we really appreciate you, and also appreciate the fact that you've put yourself in a position to talk to Kenyans. I mean, of course, you always hear this banter from around us and around other Kenyans, and of course there's sometimes a lot of negativity, some of it valid, a lot of it elevated and amplified, and it's good, once in a while to have a check and balance, to let you know that things are okay. There's other people out there that have it far worse. We didn't even have time to speak about African geopolitics, what's happening in places like Niger, in countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, there's a big change that's happening. Yes. Where a lot of Africans are saying, enough. We don't like you French. Mali has dropped French as the official language.
National language,
yeah. Mm-hmm. It has dropped French. I mean, that is that's quite
huge.
And I think, when a lot of these Europeans are looking at this, they cannot believe, how fast this is happening, because they invested a lot of years in brainwashing people and installing their systems, making people feel like this is what's good for you. Our history is what is good for you to learn. Now you have this new generation that does not look up to white people, like they're not falling for that propaganda anymore. Like I said, the gatekeepers in the information world are gone. And now we can talk to people directly, even with what's happening in Burkina Faso, what's happening in Niger, what's happening in Sudan. There's what the media tells you, but then we have a lot of friends from these countries. And I think, we also need to dedicate a couple of episodes to get to learn about the geopolitics that's happening in these countries and how that might affect us, despite the fact that, we don't have similar issues, but just what overall impact that it may have when we start trading with each other at a higher level, when we start visiting each other more frequently, when we start talking to each other. Africa is that future that people are talking about is now. And that's the reason why everyone is looking into Africa. The Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, the Indians, the Turks, everyone is looking towards Africa. And I think, we should pay heed to what Kaiser said, that there are many people from outside who want to be where you are and do what you're doing. And with that said, kwa yote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile ile 1-800 mteule. Na operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu. Na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, kumbushe ni mjukuu yule yule wa Masai. Because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Kaiser, do me a favor. Can you show us your bracelet?
Your tribal marking.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
That's right there.
Tribal mark.
Yeah, that's a tribal mark.
That is it.
Yeah. It can't come off. That's for life.
That is permanent.
That is for life.
Yeah.
Aiden, Daddy loves you. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Nemo, Daddy loves you. Until next week, be blessed.